Chapter 980. Leng Ji. Duan Ling Tian raised an eyebrow. The figure of the black-clad young man whom he killed not long ago appeared in his mind. It seems like he's really a disciple of North Nether sect. Yes. Ping Bao nodded. Among the younger generation in North Nether sect, Leng Ji is the only one who has comprehended the third-level advanced earth concept and is a third-level void transformation martial artist. Leng Ji is the second strongest person among the younger generation in North Nether sect. His strength is extraordinary. If we fight in the sky, we're on par. However, if we meet in Emperor Wu's secret treasure, I'm no match for him. Peng Bao's tone was filled with dread when he reached the end of his sentence. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Naturally, he knew why Peng Bao said that. The martial emperor's secret treasure was composed of numerous caves that were hidden deep underground. Every corner of the cave allowed a martial artist who had comprehended the earth concept to freely communicate with the earth and borrow the earth energy. So that fella's name is Leng Ji. At this moment, Huang Daniu nodded in realization. He could not help but sneer. So what if he's the second strongest person among the younger generation in the second-rate force, North Nether sect? He was still killed by Duan Ling Tian. Huang Daniu's face was filled with pride when he reached the end of his sentence. It was as though he was the one who killed Leng Ji and not Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian, Su Li, and Zhang Shouyong did not react to Huang Daniu's words. However, when Peng Bao heard it, it was as though he was struck by lightning. He froze on the spot and no longer flew forward. Seeing that Peng Bao had stopped, Duan Ling Tian and the other three stopped as well. "Be brother Ling Tian, why you killed Leng Ji?" Peng Bao looked at Duan Ling Tian with his eyes wide open. His voice was filled with shock and disbelief. When he found out Duan Ling Tian had obtained a profundity fragment, he had faintly guessed Duan Ling Tian was not as simple as he thought. He was much more powerful than he had imagined. However, he never thought that Duan Ling Tian would have the ability to kill Leng Ji. Leng Ji's cultivation base was similar to his, and the concept he had comprehended was similar to his as well. However, if he were to fight Leng Ji in Emperor Wu's secret treasure, he would definitely lose. What Leng Ji comprehended was the earth concept. He could freely borrow the power of the earth from Emperor Wu's secret treasure and increase the power of his earth concept by 50%. In response to Peng Bao's question, Duan Ling Tian nodded gently with a calm expression, as if killing Leng Ji was nothing to him. Of course, in reality it wasn't much. If he chose to make the first move and unleashed all of his strength, he would be able to unleash an ancient horned dragon's strength that was more than 200 times stronger than Leng Ji's. He only needed one move to kill Leng Ji. Monster. The corner of Peng Bao's mouth twitched when he saw that Duan Ling Tian only nodded casually in response to his question. This was the first thought that popped up in his mind. The third-rate force, five-element sect, actually had such a terrifying disciple. It made him feel inexplicably shocked from the bottom of his heart. No matter how he looked at the purple-clad young man in front of him, he was only around 25 years old. Even if his cultivation base could suppress his aging and he paid attention to his body's maintenance, his real age would not exceed 30 years old. Peng Bao was certain about this. It was precisely because of this that he felt inexplicably shocked and even in disbelief. Let's go. Under Duan Ling Tian's beckoning, Peng Bao continued to travel with Duan Ling Tian and the other three to the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. However, along the way he would occasionally look at Duan Ling Tian. This young man who could be called a peerless monster was able to kill Leng Ji, who had borrowed the power of the earth. Just how powerful was his strength? Fortunately, I didn't think of snatching the 9th level saber concept fragment from him. Otherwise, I'd be the one who died instead of him. Peng Bao could not help but feel a lingering fear when he recalled the first time he met Duan Ling Tian and made a deal with Duan Ling Tian. He still remembered that transaction very clearly to this day. He used the 9th level earth concept fragment to exchange for the 9th level saber concept fragment with Duan Ling Tian. At that time, in his eyes, Duan Ling Tian was just a hothead from a third-rate force. He was weak and not worth mentioning at all. When he recalled that he was still teaching Duan Ling Tian when he left, he could not help but feel his face burning. And this time. Fortunately, I didn't covet the third-level Monarch Stage Wind Profundity Fragment in Brother Ling Tian's hand. Otherwise, I might not even be able to survive, let alone obtain the Profundity Fragment for the sect. Peng Bao felt a lingering fear when he thought of this. To think that I was worried that Lei Jun would covet the Profundity Fragment in Brother Ling Tian's hand and attack Brother Ling Tian. Lei Jun's ability is on par with mine, but he's no match for Leng Ji in this Emperor Wu's secret treasure. Peng Bao laughed at himself. He felt that he had underestimated Duan Ling Tian. Brother Ling Tian can even kill Leng Ji. If Lei Jun dares to offend brother Ling Tian, he'll definitely die. Naturally, Duan Ling Tian did not know what Peng Bao was thinking. Currently, he was fully focused on the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure that he was about to reach. That place was an unknown place to him. The unknown was also the scariest because anything could happen inside. According to the message left by the Emperor Wu powerhouse, there's a palace in the central area of the Emperor Wu's secret treasure. That's where he died. Duan Ling Tian recalled the message left by the Emperor Wu powerhouse after he entered the Emperor Wu's secret treasure. It won't be easy to obtain the 3 profundity fragments in his body in that palace. Duan Ling Tian had a strong intuition about this. Naturally, he had such an intuition because he had merged with the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory. According to the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory, if an Emperor Wu powerhouse really left his final resting place and Emperor stage profundity fragment behind, it would not be easy for anyone to obtain it. In the eyes of a powerhouse like Emperor Wu, only the most outstanding person was qualified to obtain his Emperor stage profundity fragment. 3 days later, Duan Ling Tian came to a halt. The other 4 people by his side also came to a halt and stood next to him. This was because they realized there was no path ahead. Right now they were in a spacious cave. There were 3 entrances to the left and right of the cavern that led to other caverns. They had a confused expression on their faces. They did not know which entrance led to the central area of the Emperor Wu's secret treasure. Shall we split up and explore? Huang Daniu took the lead and suggested. That's the only way. Duan Ling Tian nodded. His gaze then shifted to the innermost entrance on the left. I'll go there. Peng Bao go there. Then Duan Ling Tian turned to look at the innermost entrance on the right and said to Peng Bao. Peng Bao nodded. He had no objections. Daniu, Suli, Big Brother Zhang. The 3 of you will enter one of the entrances to explore. No matter what the outcome is, we'll meet here one day later. Then Duan Ling Tian looked at Huang Daniu, Suli, and Zhang Shouyong. The 3 of them were the weakest among the 5 of them. In consideration of their safety, Duan Ling Tian allowed them to go together. All right. Huang Daniu and the other 2 responded immediately. All right. Duan Ling Tian nodded at the 4 of them. Then, he transformed into a bolt of purple lightning and dashed into the innermost entrance on the left side of the cavern. He dashed in quickly, intending to explore the situation inside. Peng Bao followed suit and dashed into the innermost entrance on the right side of the cavern. Huang Daniu and the other 2 entered the entrance as well. Just as the 3 of them made their move, a sturdy figure suddenly appeared in front of the entrance on the outer side of the cavern. Peng Bao. Let's see how you're going to protect Duan Ling Tian this time. The owner of the sturdy figure was none other than Lei Jun. Ever since he parted ways with Duan Ling Tian and the other 4 that day, he had gone all the way to the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure and arrived here. After arriving here, he quickly found the correct path to the central area with the help of the speed boosted by the strength of 1,000 ancient horned dragons. The correct path was behind the innermost entrance on the right side of the cavern. That entrance was also the entrance that Peng Bao had gone to explore. After confirming the correct path to the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure, a thought flashed in his mind when he was about to continue his journey. He realized this might be an opportunity for him. A chance to kill Duan Ling Tian and obtain the profundity fragment in Duan Ling Tian's possession. The 8th level Monarch Stage Thunder Profundity Fragment. Lei Jun's eyes gleamed with greed. In the next instant, purple lightning surrounded his body as he dashed out and disappeared into the innermost entrance on the left side of the cavern. His target was none other than Duan Ling Tian. To be exact, it was the 8th level Monarch Stage Thunder Profundity Fragment in Duan Ling Tian's possession. Naturally, Duan Ling Tian did not know that Lei Jun was hiding here. He did not know that Lei Jun was chasing after him. After Duan Ling Tian entered the innermost entrance on the left side of the cavern, the origin energy in his body exploded. 4 types of concepts followed him like a shadow. It was as though he had transformed into a gigantic sword that was surrounded by khaki energy, purple lightning, and green wind. Whoosh. The gigantic sword pierced through the air and shuttled through the caverns one after another in an attempt to find out if this was the way to the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. Time passed by quietly. Soon half a day had gone by. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian had also figured out the situation here. This was a maze of death that he could not get out of. There was no other way except to go back. Let's go back first. Maybe they have some clues. With a thought, Duan Ling Tian began to go back. Duan Ling Tian's swift figure came to a halt when he was about to reach the cave entrance. His eyes were suffused with coldness as they descended onto the nearby robust young man. Chapter 981. Lei Jun was the second strongest person among the younger generation in Izumo sect. A few days ago, Lei Jun was with Peng Bao when he met him again. They had even formed a small group that specialized in searching for and snatching profundity fragments. When Duan Ling Tian first met Lei Jun, he noticed the greedy look in Lei Jun's eyes when he looked at him. It was a greedy look that could not wait to kill him and take his spatial ring for himself. However, he did not care. In his opinion, Lei Jun was not a threat to him. Later on, Lei Jun saw Peng Bao standing on his side and deliberately protecting him. In his anger, he fell out with Peng Bao and left on his own. "You're really haunting me." Duan Ling Tian narrowed his eyes slightly and stared calmly at Lei Jun, who was standing in the distance. It seemed like he had been waiting for him for a long time. The corner of his mouth moved slightly as he muttered to himself. "Duan Ling Tian, if you know what's good for you, hand over the 8th level Monarch Stage Thunder Profundity Fragment that Peng Bao exchanged with you. If you do that, perhaps I'll leave you with a complete corpse." Lei Jun's eyes lit up when he saw Duan Ling Tian. He flew out and approached Duan Ling Tian in a short while. He confronted Duan Ling Tian and spoke in a condescending tone. The arrogant look in his eyes when he looked at Duan Ling Tian did not seem like he was looking at a living person. It was more like he was looking at a dead person. Perhaps, in his opinion, it was impossible for Duan Ling Tian to survive today. "Hand over the profundity fragment and leave me with a complete corpse?" Duan Ling Tian was stunned when he heard Lei Jun's words. Then he smiled brilliantly. "Lei Jun, since you said that, should I thank you for your kindness?" "Of course." Lei Jun did not seem to hear the sarcasm in Duan Ling Tian's words as he said proudly, "If an ordinary person is killed by me, if it's light they would explode into a few pieces. If it's heavy they would explode into minced meat. Of course you should thank me for my kindness if I leave you with a complete corpse." As Lei Jun spoke, a maniacal smile appeared on his face. His eyes flickered with a cold light. His killing intent was awe-inspiring, as if he was about to devour someone. "Idiot." Duan Ling Tian did not show a frightened look as Lei Jun expected. Instead, he looked at Lei Jun like looking at an idiot and spat out 2 words unhurriedly. "Idiot?" Lei Jun was stunned. He was completely stunned. This Duan Ling Tian, a mere disciple from a third-rate force, called him an idiot? "You're courting death." The Lei army, who recovered his wits, suddenly roared. His rage soared to the extreme. At the same time, the origin energy on his body surged and swept out, and then it transformed into numerous bolts of violet lightning that were like numerous thick violet electric snakes that coiled and suffused around his body. Boom, 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 boom. Almost at the same time that the essence energy on Lei Jun's body turned into purple lightning, a series of slight thunder sounds rang out. At the same time, the heaven and earth energy above his head stirred and transformed into the heaven and earth phenomenon. A total of 800 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons hovered above the sky. They were lifelike and they were ready to pounce on Duan Ling Tian at any time. 3rd level void transformation stage. 3rd level advanced thunder concept. "You only have this much strength?" Duan Ling Tian asked in a neither hurried nor slow manner in the face of Lei Jun's fusion of origin energy and thunder concept that caused his body to be filled with bolts of purple lightning and thunderbolts. Duan Ling Tian's tone was laced with sarcasm. "Duan Ling Tian, since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish." Lei Jun was originally enraged by Duan Ling Tian, and his restless emotions only calmed down when the energy swept through his entire body. Now that he heard Duan Ling Tian's words, he could no longer suppress his restless emotions that had just calmed down and completely vented them out. Bang! Lei Jun stomped both of his legs on the ground, causing ferocious cracks to appear on the ground. They spread out densely as though they were forming a gigantic spider web. In the next instant, he borrowed the force to fly out like a bolt of lightning and charged towards Duan Ling Tian. Boom, 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 boom. Wherever Lei Jun passed, the sound of thunder and air exploding was mixed together, and it was deafening. At the same time, waves of invisible airwaves spread out and set off gusts of violent wind that swept out in all directions, causing the nearby cavern to be filled with dust. Boom. Lei Jun arrived in front of Duan Ling Tian in just a blink of an eye. Without using any spirit weapon, he punched out with his bare hands. It was like a cannonball that was shot out of the barrel at Duan Ling Tian, intending to kill Duan Ling Tian. The punch that contained the strength of 800 ancient horned dragons smashed toward Duan Ling Tian as if it was crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Rolling purple lightning enveloped him. At the same time, Lei Jun looked at Duan Tian, who was motionless in front of him with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. In his opinion, the reason why Duan Tian did not react was because his speed was too fast. In the face of his attack, this young disciple from a mere third-rate force did not even have time to react. A disciple from a third-rate force is indeed a disciple from a third-rate force. In front of me you're just like an ant. Just when Lei Jun was feeling disdainful and thought that his punch was about to end Duan Tian's life, he was shocked to find that his punch had encountered an extremely terrifying resistance when it was only a foot away from Duan Tian. Smack! A soft sound reverberated in the air. It was Duan Tian who had made a move at lightning speed when Lei Jun's punch was about to land on him. He easily caught Lei Jun's menacing punch. Lei Jun's punch that contained the strength of 800 ancient horned dragons was like a falling meteorite. When it landed on Duan Tian's hand, it was as though it had crashed into a cotton ball. It had no offensive power at all. Horror dawned on Lei Jun's face when Duan Tian easily caught his fist that he had thrown out in a ferocious manner. At that moment, no matter how stupid he was, he could clearly see that the strength possessed by the purple-clad young man before him was far from what he could compare to. Just when Lei Jun was about to pull his fist away from Duan Tian's hand that was like an iron clamp and was about to turn around and flee, his eyes could not help but narrow all of a sudden. At that moment he was shocked to see that, unknowingly, the heaven and earth phenomenon had already appeared above the purple-clad young man's head. A total of 1,100 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons were condensed. His eyeballs gave him a great shock. Without using any spirit weapon, he had the strength of 1,100 ancient horned dragons. Compared to the strength on his fist, it was 300 ancient horned dragons' strength more. After seeing the 1,100 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons before him, Lei Jun completely lost his temper. Oh no! Very soon, when Lei Jun realized that Duan Tian's strength could easily kill him, his expression changed again. It became extremely grave and filled with despair. At the same time, he instinctively wanted to pull his fist away from Duan Tian's hand. However, when his fist was held in Duan Tian's hand, it was as though it had taken root and sprouted on his fist. He could not pull it out at all. Ah! The next moment, the sharp pain from his fist and the sharp pain all over his body made Lei Jun unable to help but let out a hysterical scream. The hysterical scream was so heart-wrenching that it made one's scalp go numb just by listening to it. Duan Tian's hand that was holding Lei Jun's fist suddenly trembled with the energy that was fused with 4 types of concepts. It shattered the purple lightning that was entwined around Lei Jun's fist as easily as breaking rotten wood. That was the energy that was formed by the fusion of Lei Jun's origin energy and thunder concept. After dispersing the energy entwined around Lei Jun's fist, the energy entwined around Duan Tian's hand swept out and pressed on Lei Jun's body. Barf! Lei Jun's body trembled violently. His face was pale and he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. No. When Lei Jun, who had just caught his breath, saw Duan Tian's next action, he realized what Duan Tian was trying to do. Horror dawned on his face as he hastily shouted. Unfortunately, Duan Tian ignored Lei Jun's shout as though he did not hear it at all. At the same time, Duan Tian continued to hold Lei Jun's fist tightly. He lifted his hand abruptly and swung Lei Jun up. His pair of sharp eyes gleamed coldly as he stared at the cave wall not far away. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Duan Tian swung Lei Jun up and spun him a few rounds in the air like a windmill before throwing him out of his hand, causing him to smash into the cave wall not far away like an arrow that was shot from a bow. Boom! A loud noise resonated in the air, and the stone chips on the cave wall flew everywhere. Lei Jun was smashed into the cave wall and turned into a pile of meat paste that hung on the cave wall. It was a ghastly sight. The scene before his eyes was extremely similar to an extremely abstract painting on earth where Duan Tian was from in his previous life. Lei Jun was completely silent, and he could not be any more dead. Before Duan Tian swung Lei Jun up and threw him out, Lei Jun had mobilized his strength many times in an attempt to break free from his control. However, every time Lei Jun's strength appeared, it was mercilessly crushed by Duan Tian's strength. Therefore, when Lei Jun was swung up and thrown out, there was no strength in his body that could be used to defend himself. How could a mere body of flesh and blood be able to block his strength? How could he go head-on against the cave wall that was as hard as iron? It was precisely because of this that Lei Jun was swung up and thrown out by Duan Tian without any surprise. He was smashed to death. From the beginning until the end, Lei Jun did not even have the time to take out his grade 1 spirit weapon glove from his spatial ring. Of course, even if he used his spirit weapon, it would still be difficult for him to escape the same ending. This was because he did not use his spirit weapon and Duan Tian did not use it as well. I wonder how many people have been killed just because of the word greed. After putting away Lei Jun's spatial ring, Duan Tian continued to walk to the cave entrance that he came from without even turning his head back. He shook his head and sighed like an old man. Whether it was Lei Jun now or Leng Ji earlier, both of them ended up like this because they coveted the profundity fragment in his hands. Chapter 982. Not long after, 3 figures flew out from the left side of the cavern and appeared in front of Duan Tian. They were none other than Huang Daniu, Su Li and Zhang Shouyong. How was it? Duan Tian's eyes lit up when he saw the 3 of them. He asked in anticipation. The 3 of them shook their heads. It's a maze without a path. We've searched every corner but we didn't find a second exit. Huang Daniu smiled wryly. It was apparent that they had encountered the same thing as Duan Tian. It seems like we can only wait for Peng Bao. Upon hearing Huang Daniu's words, Duan Tian nodded in disappointment. If the path that Peng Bao went to isn't the path that leads to the central area, then we can only split up and explore the remaining 3 entrances. When Duan Tian finished speaking, he looked at the remaining 3 unexplored entrances on both sides of the cavern. Up until now, they still did not know what was going on inside these 3 entrances. An hour passed by very quickly. Why isn't Peng Bao back yet? Huang Daniu, Su Li and Zhang Shouyong could not help but frown. He's here. Duan Tian focused his gaze on the innermost entrance on the right side of the cave. With his sharp hearing, he could clearly hear the sound of wind whistling coming from inside. The sound of wind whistling was getting closer and closer. Whoosh. Soon after, dust filled the air outside the entrance. Following that, a familiar figure flew out of the cave and appeared before Duan Tian and the other 3. It was none other than Peng Bao. That's the path that leads to the central area. As soon as Peng Bao appeared, he smiled at Duan Tian and the other 3. Upon hearing this, Duan Tian and the other 3's eyes lit up. At once, the 5 of them set off again. They entered the innermost entrance on the right side of the cave and continued their journey to the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. As time went by, they were getting closer and closer to the central area. At the same time, many people were approaching the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure from all directions of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. 2 days later. We're here? Looking at the empty cave entrance in the distance, Duan Tian slowed down. At the same time, he successfully arrived at the location of the cave entrance. Standing at the entrance of the cave, what appeared in front of Duan Tian was no longer the kind of cave that he had seen countless times before. The cavern before him was incomparably large and spacious. From the bottom to the top, it was like a whole new world. The cave entrance he was standing in was just a small hole high up in one of the walls of the huge cave outside. There were countless similar holes on the walls of this huge cave. However, Duan Tian did not have the time to care about this. His gaze immediately fell on the central region of this huge cavern. There stood a palace, an enormous palace. The golden and dazzling palace stood there like a sleeping giant beast, emitting an intimidating aura from head to toe. Is this the palace that Emperor Wu mentioned in his message? The place where he died? Peng Bao had caught up to Duan Tian and stood next to him. He studied the enormous palace standing in the huge cavern in shock. That Emperor Wu's body is in this palace? Huang Daniu caught up as well. His eyes lit up as he looked at the palace in front of him. His breathing quickened involuntarily. According to Emperor Wu's message, there were a total of 3 profundity fragments in his body. One of them was an Emperor stage profundity fragment while the other 2 were Monarch stage profundity fragments. The 2 Monarch stage profundity fragments aside. Just the Emperor stage profundity fragment alone was enough to make everyone go crazy. Although Su Li and Zhang Shouyong did not say anything, the burning desire in their eyes when they looked at the palace in front of them undoubtedly revealed their thoughts. The palace that stood in the huge cavern was like a giant. It exuded an ancient and weathered aura involuntarily. It was as if it was telling everyone that it had existed for a long time. There's someone over there. Su Li's eyes were sharp. Soon, he noticed 3 figures hovering in the air on the other side of the enormous palace. It was obvious that the 3 of them had arrived earlier than them. Since the palace mentioned in Emperor Wu's message had appeared, there was no doubt this was their destination. The central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. Senior Brother Zhua. Peng Bao's soft voice resonated in Duan Tian and the others' ears almost as soon as Su Li was done speaking. They followed Peng Bao's gaze and immediately saw a green figure hovering in the air far away. It was a young man in green. Initially, the green-clad young man was standing there quietly with his eyes closed. However, when Duanling Tian and the others looked at him, he opened his eyes as though he had sensed something. His gaze that was as sharp as a sword instantly focused on Duanling Tian and the others. "Let's go. Let me introduce Senior Brother Zhua to all of you." At the same time, Duanling Tian and the others were summoned by Peng Bao. They quickly arrived near the green-clad young man. "Senior Brother Zhua." When Peng Bao greeted the green-clad young man, there was a hint of reverence in his tone. It was reverence that came from the bottom of his heart. "Junior Brother Peng." The green-clad young man nodded at Peng Bao. He did not pay much attention to Duanling Tian and the others. Although he did not look down on the four of them, it still revealed his arrogance. Duanling Tian and the others were not surprised by this. It seems like this is the Zuoyu that Peng Bao mentioned to us earlier. At this moment, Huang Danyu's voice transmission clearly entered Duanling Tian, Su Li and Zhang Shouyang's ears. He was secretly communicating with Duanling Tian and the others. "I think so." Su Li and Zhang Shouyang nodded. "Zuoyu." Duanling Tian raised his eyebrows. The words that Peng Bao said to them earlier seemed to echo in his ears. "My strength can only be ranked second among the younger generation in our Anika sect. The strongest person among the younger generation in our Anika sect is my senior brother Zhua. His full name is Zuoyu, and he's the only direct disciple of our Anika sect's supreme elder. Our Anika sect's supreme elder is the only martial monarch powerhouse in our Anika sect. Zuoyu. The strongest person among the younger generation in Anika sect. The direct disciple of a martial monarch powerhouse." Either one of these two titles was enough to shock anyone. The combination of the two made Zuoyu the brightest pearl in Anika sect. When Peng Bao saw that Zuoyu did not even look at Duanling Tian and the others, he could not help but feel a little embarrassed. He smiled apologetically at Duanling Tian and the others. Duanling Tian and the others smiled back, indicating that they did not care. If the other party was really Zuoyu, he definitely had the right to be so arrogant. "Senior brothers, what, they're my friends. This is Duanling Tian, this is Huang Daniu, this is Su Li, and this is Zhang Shouyang." Peng Bao introduced Duanling Tian and the others to Zuoyu. When he mentioned Duanling Tian, Zuoyu, who stood there arrogantly, immediately looked at Duanling Tian. He did not hear a single word that Peng Bao said after that. "You're Duanling Tian?" Zuoyu stared at Duanling Tian. A hint of greed could be seen in the depth of his eyes despite his arrogance. "The disciple of the third-rate force, the five-element sect?" "That's right. I'm Duanling Tian." When Duanling Tian saw the greed in Zuoyu's eyes, he did not even need to think about it to conclude that Zuoyu must have heard about the news of him obtaining the profundity fragment. Peng Bao's expression changed when he sensed the hostility between Duanling Tian and Zuoyu. Although Huang Daniu, Su Li, and Zhang Shouyang knew that they were no match for Zuoyu even if they joined forces, they still stood behind Duanling Tian firmly and glared at Zuoyu with hostility. Zuoyu's eyes gleamed. Suddenly he seemed to have thought of something. He tilted his head and looked at the two young men standing in the distance. When he noticed the two of them looking at him from time to time, he did not attack Duanling Tian. He knew very well that if the two of them found out about Duanling Tian's identity, it would be difficult for him to obtain the profundity fragment in Duanling Tian's hands even with his strength. Duanling Tian could clearly see Zuoyu's little movements. Duanling Tian could not help but look at the two young men in the distance. Among the two young men, one of them was tall and muscular. His body size was similar to Huang Danyu's. The other one was dressed in green and carried a sheathed spirit sword on his back. He was a sword cultivator. Out of curiosity, Duanling Tian extended his spiritual energy and swept it toward the two of them. Soon, Duanling Tian's eyes narrowed. A hint of shock appeared on his face. At the same time, realization dawned on him. "I see. It seems like they're the strongest person among the younger generation in Izumo sect and North Nether sect." Duanling Tian was certain of this after he probed their cultivation base. Their cultivation base was not inferior to Zuoyu's. Duanling Tian noticed the concern that flashed in the depth of Zuoyu's eyes when he glanced at the two of them. For this reason, it was not difficult for Duanling Tian to guess Zuoyu's thoughts. "Elder brother Duan." At this moment, a familiar voice that sounded like an oriole clearly entered Duanling Tian's ears. For a moment, Duanling Tian stared at the source of the voice. Over there, a figure that looked like a fire spirit was flying out, heading straight for him. "Tianwu." Duanling Tian could not help but show a gentle smile when he saw the person. he flew out and greeted her. The figure that looked like a fire spirit was none other than Feng Qianwu. Duan Lingtian had been worried about Feng Qianwu's safety throughout the journey. Chapter 983. Elder Brother Duan. Feng Qianwu's beautiful face could not help but blush as she stared at the purple-clad young man before her. It was as though blood was about to drip out of her cheeks. Presently, Feng Tianwu's peerlessly beautiful face that could captivate all living beings revealed a trace of shyness, and she looked lovely and moving, causing others to have the impulse to hold her in their arms and properly cherish her. Tianwu. Duan Lingtian smiled as he looked at the red-clad young lady before him. His eyes were filled with tenderness. Currently, when he faced Feng Tianwu, even he did not know what kind of feeling he had. It was no longer the unfamiliarity he had in the past. Instead, it seemed as though there was a sense of closeness. However, it was still a distance away from the feelings between lovers. However, every time he recalled the time when he and Zishang fell into the bottomless abyss at the side of the high platform when they had just entered Emperor Wu's secret treasure, Feng Qianwu had also jumped down without any regard for her own safety. His heart could not help but throb again. His heart wasn't made of iron and stone, so he was naturally able to deeply feel the kind of sacrifice that Feng Tianwu had made for him that exceeded her life. One had to admit. After that time, Feng Tianwu's position, in his heart had undergone a tremendous change compared to before. It was as if only the last layer of membrane was poked open, and their hearts would be able to completely merge together. When Duan Lingtian's spiritual energy involuntarily extended out and landed on Feng Tianwu's body, he seemed to have discovered something and could not help but be stunned. Feng Tianwu's cultivation base had already broken through to the 4th level void interpretation. Compared to the 3rd level void interpretation from before, although there was a huge improvement, it was still not enough to make him stunned. What really made him stunned was the waves of scorching aura emitted from Feng Tianwu's body. This scorching aura was hidden in Feng Tianwu's body and was ready to burst out at any time. It was as though it wanted to ignite his spiritual energy. What happened? For a moment, Duan Lingtian, who had retracted his mental strength, had a serious expression on his face. His mental strength gave him the feeling that there was a terrifying flaming demonic beast sleeping in Feng Tianwu's body. Once that flaming demonic beast woke up, Feng Tianwu would be dead for sure. Duan Lingtian did not doubt this at all. Could it be the power of the fire spirit body? Soon Duan Lingtian vaguely guessed the reason. This was the only reason. However, Tianwu is only 26 years old this year. It seems like there's still 4 years before the fire spirit body's true strength erupts. Duan Lingtian was rather puzzled by this. It seems like Tianwu must have encountered some accident in Emperor Wu's secret treasure. That's why the fire spirit body's energy in her body is becoming more and more unstable. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian's expression became more and more serious. What a beautiful woman. Feng Tianwu's appearance successfully attracted the attention of Peng Bao, Zuiyu, and the other 2 young men who were standing not far away. At this moment, the 4 of them were stunned when they looked at Feng Tianwu. They had seen many beautiful women before. However, it was their first time seeing someone with such a temperament. They could not help but be tempted. Brother Lingtian, you're so lucky. While Peng Bao was stunned by Feng Tianwu's devastatingly beautiful face, he also noticed the way Feng Tianwu looked at Duan Lingtian. It was a look of adoration. Upon seeing this, he could not help but be envious. At the same time, he was happy for Duan Lingtian. Although he had not known Duan Lingtian for long, he had already become a true friend of Duan Lingtian due to their similar temperaments. Zuiyu could not help but snort coldly. There was a hint of jealousy in his eyes when he looked at Duan Lingtian. After knowing Duan Lingtian's identity, his first thought was undoubtedly to kill Duan Lingtian and snatch the profundity fragment in Duan Lingtian's hand. However, due to the presence of the other 2 people who were equally as famous as him in the northern desert, he did not make a move at that moment. He knew that if he attacked Duan Lingtian, he would definitely attract the attention of the other 2 people. At that time, the other 2 people would definitely join the fight. In that case, in the end, it was very likely that he would end up with nothing. Just when Duan Lingtian was about to ask Feng Tianwu if something had happened to her fire spirit body in Emperor Wu's secret treasure. Duan Lingtian, you're really still alive. A loud voice resonated from afar, breaking the silence. Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a bald young man in a kasaya flew out from a hole on one side of the huge cave wall at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, he was standing not far away from Duan Lingtian. Shenbei. Looking at the young monk who appeared in front of him, Duan Lingtian raised his eyebrows and smiled faintly. You haven't fulfilled the agreement between us. Of course I'll be alive and well. Xian Bei was the strongest person among the younger generation in Empyrean Temple. He was the young monk who had challenged Duan Lingtian to a battle in Skywolf Fort. How about we fulfill the agreement now? Xian Bei narrowed his eyes slightly with a smile on his face. He said slowly, I'm very interested in the profundity fragment in your hand. Profundity fragment. Hearing Xian Bei's words, Zuiyu, whose expression had changed when he heard Xian Bei call out Duan Lingtian's name, became gloomier and gloomier. Just now, when Xian Bei called out Duan Lingtian's name, he found that the two fellows from Izumo sect and North Nether sect, who were equally famous as him, had their eyes fixed on Duan Lingtian at the same time. But they didn't seem to react for a while. Now, when Xian Bei called out the profundity fragment without any scruples, he clearly saw the sudden realization on the two fellows' faces and their eyes suddenly lit up. Oh no. Zuiyu's heart sank. The thing he didn't want to happen the most still happened. Whoosh, whoosh. Almost at the same time when Xian Bei's voice died away, the two young men standing in the distance finally moved. Their robes fluttered and in the next moment, they disappeared into thin air. When they reappeared, they were already near Duan Lingtian, staring at Duan Lingtian fiercely. At this moment, the way they looked at Duan Lingtian was extremely bright. It didn't seem like they were sizing up a person, but more like they were sizing up a peerless treasure. You're Duan Lingtian? The disciple from a third-rate force who obtained the profundity fragment. Both of them stared at Duan Lingtian and spoke almost at the same time, interrogating Duan Lingtian. Feng Tianwu was originally quietly looking at her sweetheart. She only felt that she was extremely happy at this moment, but the two voices that suddenly rang out were like the cries of crows, breaking this short moment of silence and causing her beautiful face to change. Just when Feng Tianwu was about to explode, a gentle voice entered her ears through voice transmission and calmed her restless emotions. Tianwu, did something happen to you in Emperor Wu's secret treasure? Why do I feel like the fire spirit body's energy in your body isn't as peaceful as before? A gentle voice that was filled with concern completely suppressed Feng Tianwu's restless emotions, causing her pretty face to redden even more. It was as though blood was about to drip out of her cheeks. It felt good to be cared for by someone, let alone being cared for by her sweetheart. Yes. Feng Tianwu nodded and replied to Duan Lingtian through voice transmission. I obtained a 9th level Monarch Stage Fire Profundity Fragment not long ago. Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed when Feng Tianwu reached this point. He was still curious earlier. There were 5 Monarch Stage Profundity Fragments in the periphery of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. Apart from the 3 that he obtained, he did not know who had obtained the other 2. He only found out now that Tianwu had obtained one of them. Not only that, it's a 9th level Monarch Stage Fire Profundity Fragment. Duan Lingtian was shocked. One must know that even among the 3 Monarch Stage Profundity Fragments that he obtained, the best one was only an 8th level Monarch Stage Profundity Fragment. It was far from a 9th level Monarch Stage Profundity Fragment. Just as I was holding it in my hand, it separated from my palm and turned into a liquid energy that merged into my body. Feng Tianwu continued to speak. Duan Lingtian suppressed the shock in his heart and snapped back to reality. He listened attentively to Feng Tianwu's detailed experience in Emperor Wu's secret treasure. This was Feng Tianwu's biggest secret. However, in front of Duan Lingtian, Feng Tianwu did not hold back at all. She did not hide anything at all. Duan Lingtian's expression turned even more solemn as he listened to Feng Tianwu's story. Tianwu, she can actually mobilize and cast the 1st level Monarch Stage Fire Profundity? Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat. If it was an ordinary martial artist, perhaps it would be a good thing if they could mobilize and cast the 1st level Monarch Stage Fire Profundity. However, this person was Feng Tianwu, the owner of the Fire Spirit Body. If it's just an ordinary martial artist, it's impossible for the 9th level Monarch Stage Fire Profundity Fragment to react like that. The Profundity Fragment must have reacted like that because Tianwu has the Fire Spirit Body. Duan Lingtian was almost certain about this. I wonder if there's any record of Tianwu's experience in the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory. Duan Lingtian, who was so concerned that his mind was in a mess, anxiously searched through the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memories of the 2 lives in an attempt to find the answer. He had a feeling that the change in the concept fragment in Tianwu's body and her ability to mobilize the 1st level Monarch Stage Fire Profundity were not good news for her. Duan Lingtian and Feng Tianwu communicated through voice transmission. They stood there quietly, completely ignoring the questions from the 2 people from Izumo sect and North Nether sect. At this moment, The burly young man from Izumo sect and the green-clad young man from North Nether sect could not help but turn gloomy. Ah! Lei Zhong, Su Qing, I can't be bothered with both of you. At this moment, Zuiyu could not help but laugh out loud. He looked at his two old rivals with a mocking expression. Lei Zhong was the strongest person among the younger generation in Izumo sect. He was also the direct disciple of the only martial monarch powerhouse in Izumo sect. Chapter 984. When Su Qing heard the sarcasm in Zuiyu's words, he realized Zuiyu was trying to sow discord. Therefore he quickly returned to his normal state, neither happy nor angry. Unlike Su Qing, Lei Zhong's expression changed drastically. How could he, who had a bad temper, hold himself back when he heard Zuiyu's sarcasm? With a flash of his body, he seemed to have transformed into a ferocious goshawk in an instant as he flew out and pounced towards Duanling Tian in a menacing manner at an extremely fast speed. When Lei Zhong flew out, a milky white flame rose from his body. As soon as the milky white flame appeared, it transformed into a fiery red flame that covered the sky. It made him seem like he had transformed into a vast and swollen flame that swept towards Duanling Tian. He wanted to devour Duanling Tian. Lei Zhong, who was covered in flames, looked like the god of fire that had descended to the world. When he punched out, it was like a big burning fireball that caused the air to compress and set off a series of air explosions. When the air explosions sounded, a scorching air wave spread out. The heaven and earth energy above Lei Zhong's head stirred and gathered into the heaven and earth phenomenon. First, 600 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons appeared. Subsequently, another 500 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons appeared. 4th level void transformation stage. 4th level advanced fire concept. The gap between the 4th level of the void transformation stage and the 3rd level of the void transformation stage was like a chasm that was difficult to cross. A 3rd level void transformation stage martial artist's full origin energy was equivalent to the strength of 400 ancient horned dragons. On the other hand, a 4th level void transformation stage martial artist's full origin energy was equivalent to the strength of 600 ancient horned dragons. Compared to the former, it was an extra 200 ancient horned dragon strength. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The air wave that swept out from the compression of the air set off a series of scorching gales. It caused the people present to feel waves of heat hitting their faces. This feeling made them very uncomfortable. Currently, Lei Zhong was attacking Duanling Tian at lightning speed. He did not even use his spirit weapon. Perhaps, as far as he was concerned, a mere young disciple from a third-rate force was not qualified enough for him to use his spirit weapon. As for Duanling Tian obtaining the profundity fragment, in his opinion, it was purely due to Duanling Tian's good luck. With 1,100 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons above his head, Lei Zhong punched out his fist. It was like a cannonball that was shot out of a barrel and filled the sky with flames. It flew straight towards Duanling Tian as if he wanted to smash Duanling Tian into pieces with one punch. Elder brother Duan, be careful. In a hurry, Feng Tianwu reacted. Her expression changed greatly as she cried out in alarm. At the same time as she reminded Duanling Tian, her eyes turned red, and her body emitted a terrifying burning aura that continued to rise. When flames rose from Feng Tianwu's body, the heaven and earth energy above her head stirred, and it seemed like it was about to condense into 1,000, or even 2,000 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons. Don't worry, I can handle him. When the flames on Feng Tianwu's body rose up and she was slightly unable to control them, a voice transmission entered into her ears, and it caused her to be completely at ease. She trusted the owner of the voice unconditionally. Subsequently, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duanling Tian, who seemed to be absent-minded and unguarded, turned around in an instant. He raised his hand and threw a punch out to meet Lei Zhong's punch that was filled with flames that covered the sky and was coming at him with a fierce momentum. Whoosh! Duanling Tian smashed out with his fist, and his milky white origin energy skyrocketed to instantly transform into a vast earthen yellow energy that was coiled with deep violet-colored lightning bolts and material azure-colored strong winds. That was not all. When he punched out, there was even a sword energy that followed him like a shadow. It contained an extremely terrifying sword concept. Boom, 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 boom. When Duanling Tian punched out, the air was compressed once again, and it gave rise to a wave of explosive sounds that sounded like thunder. Not only that, the air wave that was filled with an extremely strong impact force spread out in all directions and gave rise to waves of piercingly cold gales that collided with the scorching gales that Lei Zhong gave rise to. Following that, another series of explosions rang out, rising and falling one after another, continuous and unending. The robes of the people present fluttered in the wind, making flapping sounds. However, none of them paid attention to all of this. Their gazes were locked tightly onto the two people that were about to collide. More precisely speaking, it was the two fists that were about to collide. Whoosh! The flames on Lei Zhong's body skyrocketed and raged as he punched out. It was like the fury of the god of fire that tore through the sky and gave rise to a scorching aura that covered the heavens and the earth that enveloped Duan Lingtian. Whoosh! The violet clothes on Duan Lingtian's body fluttered and swelled as he punched out. The punch that contained his origin energy and 4 types of concepts that were mixed together met Lei Zhong head-on without holding back. Bang! Both of their fists collided in an instant. The two forces collided with each other and gave rise to a deafening loud bang. In the air, waves of air could be clearly seen spreading out like ripples, spreading out in all directions. Huang Daniu, Su Li, and Zhang Shou-yong, whose cultivation base was weaker, changed their expressions. They could only feel the qi and blood in their bodies surging as they were faintly affected. So powerful. Seeing that Duan Lingtian was not at a disadvantage when he punched out with his bare hands and collided with Lei Zhong's fist, Huang Daniu and the other two calmed down the surging qi and blood in their bodies. Their eyes lit up. Bang, 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 bang. With the point where Duan Lingtian and Lei Zhong's fists collided as the center, the air wave that was like a ripple spread out like a ripple. Gusts of wind that were even more powerful gushed out. Crack, crack. In an instant, the hair bands on Duan Lingtian and Lei Zhong's heads broke almost at the same time. Their long hair fluttered in the wind like tiny black snakes dancing in the air. Bang, 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 bang. At the point where Duan Lingtian and Lei Zhong's fists collided, both of their energies continued to collide and collide, setting off a series of deafening explosions. They were evenly matched. How's this possible? Upon seeing this, Zhuiyu's eyes narrowed. Disbelief was written all over his face. He found it hard to believe that everything before his eyes was real. That Duan Lingtian, a young disciple from a mere third-rate force who looked like he was only 25 years old, was actually able to fight Lei Zhong to a draw and be evenly matched with him? This Duan Lingtian is even more powerful than Lei Zhong? Su Qing, who was originally calm, could not help but be moved. He muttered to himself, in the fight between them, Lei Zhong had the upper hand and made the first move. Even so, Duan Lingtian, who hurriedly punched out, was still able to take Lei Zhong's punch head-on. The energy contained in Duan Lingtian's punch is definitely more powerful than Lei Zhong's. If it's only evenly matched with Lei Zhong, it's impossible for him to be in a stalemate with Lei Zhong when he hurriedly punched out. Compared to Zhuiyu, Su Qing had a clearer understanding of the scene before his eyes. Duan Lingtian was even more powerful. As though it set off Su Qing's mutterings at the same time, the rolling heaven and earth energy above Duan Lingtian's head finally gathered into the heaven and earth phenomenon. 1,200 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons condensed into form and descended in an imposing manner. Such a heaven and earth phenomenon was undoubtedly telling the truth. The punch that Duan Lingtian threw out with his bare hands contained the strength of 1,200 ancient horned dragons. Compared to the 1,100 ancient horned dragons' strength contained in the Thunder Bell Fist, it was 100 ancient horned dragons' strength more. 1,200 ancient horned dragons' strength. Duan Lingtian's third-level void transformation cultivation base was equivalent to 400 ancient horned dragons' strength. Third-level advanced wind concept was equivalent to 400 ancient horned dragons' strength. The ninth-level intermediate earth concept and sword concept combined was equivalent to 200 ancient horned dragons' strength. Coupled with the first-level advanced thunder concept that was equivalent to 200 ancient horned dragons' strength, it was exactly 1,200 ancient horned dragons' strength. That was right. Duan Lingtian's thunder concept had made a breakthrough. On the same day that he killed Lei Jun, he successfully made a breakthrough from the ninth-level intermediate stage to the first-level advanced stage. Boom. Another loud explosion reverberated in the air. At the same time that the heaven and earth phenomenon above Duan Lingtian's head consolidated, the purple lightning on his fist became even more profound and raging. At the same time, Duan Lingtian caught his breath from the disadvantage of losing the initiative due to his hasty attack. His entire body erupted with the strength of 1,200 ancient horned dragons as he charged out. After turning the tables around, The result of the 1,200 ancient horn dragon strength against Lei Zhong's 1,100 ancient horn dragon strength was obvious. Crushing. It was a complete and utter suppression. Impossible. He was sent flying by Duan Ling Tian's punch. Lei Zhong did not scream when he felt a bone-piercing pain from his hand. Instead, he narrowed his eyes. He could not believe what was happening before his eyes. A mere disciple from a third-rate force was actually able to suppress him in one fell swoop under the situation where he had the initiative and gained the initiative? Regardless of whether Lei Zhong was willing to believe it or not, his strength was inferior to Duan Ling Tian. It was an undeniable fact that he was sent flying and was heavily injured. Barf. Lei Zhong, who was sent flying by Duan Ling Tian's punch, finally managed to stabilize his body after flying for over 100 meters. At the same time, he could not help but spit out a mouthful of dazzling blood. I'm injured? I'm injured by a young disciple from a third-rate force? Lei Zhong wiped the corner of his mouth and looked at the blood on his hand. His eyes narrowed and his face became a little stiff. However, soon after, he seemed to have noticed something. With a jolt, he regained his senses. This was because he noticed that Duan Ling Tian, the disciple from the third-rate Force 5 element sect, did not seem to want to stop after sending him flying with just one punch. Duan Ling Tian's eyes were cold and his face was covered with frost. He stepped out in the air at a speed that was neither fast nor slow as he flew towards Lei Zhong. A cold, killing intent flickered in his eyes. In his opinion, he wanted to kill the #1 powerhouse among the younger generation in Izumo sect. Not only did he want to make his opponent pay for his rashness, but more importantly, he wanted to establish his dominance. At this moment, more and more people started to appear in this huge cave. Among them, there was no lack of disciples from Anika sect, North Nether sect, and Izumo sect. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, the scene was so quiet that it was terrifying. Every time Duan Ling Tian took a step forward, the air would vibrate and emit a soft sound. Chapter 985. Bang, bang. Every step that Duan Ling Tian took was like a giant hammer slamming on Lei Zhong's chest, causing his breathing to quicken. He could not calm down for a long time. Lei Zhong's face turned grave when he noticed the killing intent in Duan Ling Tian's eyes. He quickly took out a healing pill and consumed it. However, with his current injuries, it would be difficult for him to recover in a short time even if he consumed the healing pill. It affected his strength. Whoosh. A saber suddenly appeared in Lei Zhong's uninjured left hand. It was a thick saber. As the flame in his hand soared and merged with the saber, a saber ray bloomed. Whoosh. In the void above his head, the heaven and earth energy consolidated 1,100 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons again. Then more than 520 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons appeared. More than 1,620 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons hovered in the void above Lei Zhong's head. They were ready to attack at any time. However, perhaps it was because he had not recovered from his injuries, the 1,620 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons above Lei Zhong's head were extremely unstable. In just a few moments, the number of silhouettes decreased to 1,500. Then, the number dropped to 1,400. After that, there were no more than 1,500 silhouettes. At this moment, a sword appeared in Duan Ling Tian's hand as he took a step forward. It was a quasi-royal grade spirit sword. As soon as the quasi-royal grade spirit sword appeared, along with Duan Ling Tian's energy surging into it, another 400 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons appeared beside the 1,200 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons above Duan Ling Tian's head. 1,600 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons. Such a heaven and earth phenomenon was enough to shock people. However, many of the people present could not help but be stunned. These people were Zuoyu, Su Qin, Peng Bao, and the other young disciples from the second-rate forces. Duan Ling Tian only has the strength of 1,600 ancient horned dragons after using his spirit weapon? Compared to Lei Zhong, who used his spirit weapon in his prime, he's more than 20 ancient horned dragons weaker? However, without using his spirit weapon, his strength is more than 100 ancient horned dragons stronger than Lei Zhong. What's going on? Could it be that he's hiding something? That's the only way. Otherwise, wouldn't Lei Zhong be defeated in vain today? Due to the fact that Lei Zhong was severely injured by Duan Ling Tian, it's difficult for him to unleash his full strength. Even if he uses his spirit weapon, his strength won't surpass the strength of 150 ancient horned dragons. The people who were discussing animatedly were the disciples of Anika sect and North Nether sect who had made it to the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. There were no more than 5 of them in total. There was a hint of schadenfreude in their words. In their opinion, as long as Duan Lingtian dared to kill Lei Zhong would definitely die today. The two surviving Izumo sect disciples had extremely ugly expressions on their faces. Lei Zhong was the strongest person among the younger generation in Izumo sect. In their eyes, he was the invincible god of battle. However, today the invincible war god in their eyes was at a disadvantage in front of a disciple from a third-rate force. Moreover, his life was in danger. At this moment, almost all of the disciples from the second-rate forces who had made it to this place knew the identity of Duan Lingtian. They had already heard of the name Duan Lingtian before they came here. The strongest person among the younger generation in the third-rate force, five-element sect, had obtained a profundity fragment at the periphery of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. To think that I still wanted to encounter this Duan Lingtian and kill him to snatch the profundity fragment in his hands. Now that I think about it, it's fortunate that I didn't encounter him. Otherwise, the one who would die would definitely be me. One of the Izumo sect's disciples smiled wryly. Of course. Even senior brother Lei Zhong was severely injured by him. How can we compare to his strength? With such strength, it's no wonder that he could obtain the profundity fragment. The other Izumo sect's disciple agreed. Then he added, however, as long as he's not crazy, I don't think he would dare to kill senior brother Lei Zhong. Otherwise, not only him but even the third-rate force five-element sect that he's in would have to bear the wrath of our Izumo sect. That's right. Unless he can kill all of us who witnessed him killing senior brother Lei Zhong with our own eyes. Otherwise, even if he kills senior brother Lei Zhong, he won't be able to live. Not only that, but his sect will also be implicated. The Izumo sect's disciple in front agreed. At this moment, most of the other people also felt that Duan Lingtian would not dare to kill Lei Zhong. After all, killing Lei Zhong was equivalent to offending Izumo sect. Izumo sect was one of the three most powerful second-rate forces in the northern desert. They only needed to send out a martial monarch powerhouse to remove the third-rate force five-element sect from the northern desert without any effort. However, how could they guess Duan Lingtian's thoughts? When they saw Duan Lingtian increasing his speed and charging toward Lei Zhong again, and in just 3 moves he sent the thick saber in Lei Zhong's hand flying and severely injured him again, they were stunned. They were completely dumbfounded. This disciple from a third-rate force was actually so powerful? When they saw Duan Lingtian lifting his hand and leisurely swinging his sword to pierce Lei Zhong's throat and kill him. He's crazy. This Duan Lingtian is crazy. Isn't he afraid of Izumo sect's revenge? At this moment, other than the 2 young disciples from Izumo sect who were stunned, the disciples from Enika sect and North Nether sect could not help but mutter to themselves. They felt their scalps go numb. Was this purple-clad young man really a disciple from a third-rate force? Since when did a disciple from a third-rate force become so bold? Duan Lingtian. Just when Zuiyu, Su Qing and Peng Bao were shocked by Duan Lingtian's actions, Peng Bao cried out anxiously, trying to stop Duan Lingtian from killing Lei Zhong. In his opinion, if Duan Lingtian swung his sword, not only would he die but the third-rate force five-element sect would also be annihilated. As a disciple of Enika sect, he knew very well. The wrath of Izumo sect was no joke. If a disciple from a third-rate force dared to kill him, the result would be the same. The Enika sect that he was in would spare no effort to kill the disciple from the third-rate force before annihilating the third-rate force. The dignity of a second-rate force could not be blasphemed by a third-rate force. In the eyes of a second-rate force, a person from a third-rate force or even the third-rate force was like an ant that could not even withstand a single blow. Upon hearing Peng Bao's voice, Duan Lingtian's right hand shook and moved the sword away. However, his left hand did not remain idle as he slammed his palm down and heavily injured Lei Zhong again. Barf! Lei Zhong spat out another mouthful of blood. His face was pale and bloodless. His body swayed as though he would fall from the sky at any time. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian reached out his left hand and grabbed Lei Zhong's throat, lifting him up forcefully. At this moment, Lei Zhong would definitely die if he exerted more force in his hand. As Duan Lingtian lifted Lei Zhong up by his neck, he looked at Peng Bao with a hint of confusion in his eyes. What's wrong? Duan Lingtian, you can hurt Lei Zhong if you want, but don't kill him on impulse. Everything will be fine if he doesn't die. If he dies, not only you, but even the five-element sect behind you will definitely be annihilated. Peng Bao did not beat around the bush and bluntly voiced his concerns. The reason he said all this was because he regarded Duan Lingtian as a friend. He did not want to see Duan Lingtian walk on the path of no return. Five-element sect? Upon hearing Ping Bao's words, Duan Lingtian frowned and sighed. I forgot. It's difficult for 5-element sect to deal with the wrath of Izumo sect. Duan Lingtian's voice was not loud, but it entered everyone's ears. For a moment, almost everyone present, including Feng Tianwu, thought Duan Lingtian would not kill Lei Zhong anymore. This Duan Lingtian finally gave in. Of course. The wrath of Izumo sect is not something he and 5-element sect can handle. The few young disciples from Anika sect and North Nether sect whispered among themselves. They were not surprised by this outcome at all. As for the 2 young disciples from Izumo sect, they smiled smugly. The fact that Izumo sect had such a great deterrent force made them feel proud to be Izumo sect's disciples. Go, Duan Lingtian, you don't dare to kill me after all. Today I'll definitely step into 5-element sect and make you pay 10 times, no 100 times for everything you've done to me today. Lei Zhong, who was lifted up by the neck by Duan Lingtian and humiliated, stared at Duan Lingtian with a pair of extremely cold eyes as he gritted his teeth and said with great difficulty. However, Duan Lingtian did not seem to hear his words. He continued to frown as though he was thinking about something. Finally, Duan Lingtian regained his senses. Today I, Duan Lingtian, hereby announce that from this moment onward I, Duan Lingtian, am no longer part with 5-element sect. From today onward, the matters of 5-element sect have nothing to do with me, and my matters have nothing to do with 5-element sect as well. Duan Lingtian finally opened his mouth. The moment he opened his mouth, he said something that was inexplicably shocking. The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, the entire place fell into a dead silence. What is this Duan Lingtian trying to do? This was what most of the people present were thinking. Elder brother Duan. Feng Tianwu was the first to react. She realized what Duan Lingtian was going to do next. Her beautiful face was filled with solemnity. Brother Lingtian, don't be rash. Even if you leave 5-element sect, Izumo sect will not attack 5-element sect out of respect. However, you'll have to bear the wrath of Izumo sect and be hunted down by them. It's not worth it to offend the entire Izumo sect just because of Lei Zhong. Soon after, Peng Bao also reacted. His expression changed again as he hurriedly advised. Duan Lingtian. Brother Lingtian. Huang Daniu, Su Li and Zhang Shouyong looked at Duan Lingtian worriedly. They were afraid that Duan Lingtian would really kill Lei Zhong and bring trouble to himself. You're Lei Zhong? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duan Lingtian looked at Lei Zhong and asked in a calm tone. That's right. I'm Lei Zhong, the direct disciple of the only martial emperor in Izumo sect. Chapter 986. Slap. Almost at the same time when Lei Zhong's words left his mouth, a clear sound of a slap reverberated in the air and entered everyone's ears. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duan Lingtian lifted his hand and gave Lei Zhong a loud slap. A clear palm print was left on half of Lei Zhong's face, causing it to swell. For a moment the crowd felt their scalps go numb. This Duan Lingtian was too awesome, right? He even dared to slap Lei Zhong after he said he was the direct disciple of a martial monarch powerhouse. They had to admit that they admired Duan Lingtian's courage from the bottom of their hearts. However, admiration was one thing, but it did not mean they agreed with Duan Lingtian's actions. You're seeking death. At the same time, many people felt that Duan Lingtian was seeking death, including Zuiyu, the strongest person among the younger generation in Anika sect. At this moment, Zuiyu looked at Duan Lingtian as though he was looking at a dead man. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian's action was undoubtedly challenging the dignity of the martial monarch powerhouse in Izumo sect. Even if Duan Lingtian could make it out alive from Emperor Wu's secret treasure, he would definitely die. It was impossible for the martial monarch powerhouse to let him go. I'm only asking if you're Thunder Bell? Did I ask whose direct disciple you are? After giving Lei Zhong a slap, Duan Lingtian said calmly as he looked at Lei Zhong, who was glaring at him furiously. He could not wait to turn him into ashes. You? Lei Zhong's eyes narrowed. You wanted to say something. Slap. Another loud slap landed on the other half of Lei Zhong's face, turning his face into a pig's head. Did I ask you to speak? After giving Lei Zhong another slap, Duan Lingtian continued to look at Lei Zhong calmly. Lei Zhong was so humiliated that he glared at Duan Lingtian with even more hatred. However, he did not dare to say anything. He believed that if he dared to say a single word now, the other party would definitely not hesitate to give him another slap. This purple-clothed youth was simply a lunatic, an out-and-out lunatic. When the crowd saw Duan Tian giving Lei Zhong another slap, they felt their scalps go numb again. They felt that Duan Tian was too bold. He did not even take a martial monarch realm expert seriously. Do you think I don't dare to kill you? Duan Tian's tone was still calm as he stared at Lei Zhong and asked word by word. This time Lei Zhong didn't say anything. However, the cold glint in his eyes undoubtedly showed what he thought in his heart. Smack. Another resounding slap rang out, shocking the onlookers to the point that their heartbeats quickened, and all of them felt a chill run down their spines. Didn't you hear me? Duan Tian, who gave Lei Zhong another slap, causing Lei Zhong's eyes to almost pop out of their sockets, spoke once more. His voice wasn't calm any longer, and it seemed to contain a trace of coldness. Don't tell me you dare to kill me? Finally, Lei Zhong swallowed a mouthful of blood that he almost spat out and asked in a hoarse and cold voice. You're called Lei Zhong. I wonder how is Lei Jun, the second strongest person among the younger generation in Izumo sect, related to you? Duan Tian ignored Lei Zhong and continued to ask. He had a feeling that both Lei Zhong and Lei Jun had the surname Lei, and they were both the most outstanding disciples among the younger generation in Izumo sect. He's my younger brother, and he's also the direct disciple of our Izumo sect's sect leader. When Lei Zhong heard Duan Tian mentioning Lei Jun, his pale face was filled with pride. Your younger brother? What a coincidence. Duan Tian smiled. His smile was exceptionally radiant. In the end, his voice gradually turned cold as though it came from an ice cave. Do you think that since I dared to kill your younger brother, I wouldn't dare to kill you? Gasp. The moment Duan Tian's words left his mouth, the entire place was in an uproar. Duan Tian had killed Lei Zhong's younger brother, Lei Jun, the direct disciple of the sect leader of Izumo sect? It's over. It's over. When Peng Bao heard Duan Tian's words, he was stunned before a wry smile appeared on his face. He knew that from the moment Duan Tian said those words, it was destined that Duan Tian and Izumo sect would not rest until one of them was dead. No wonder I didn't see Lei Jun. He must have arrived at the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure earlier than us. I can't believe he's already dead. At this moment it was not only Peng Bao. Even Huang Daniu, Su Li and Zhang Shouyong were struck by a realization. As for where and when Lei Jun died, it was not difficult for them to figure it out. Some time ago, Lei Jun had a falling out with Peng Bao and left on his own. They were on their way to the central area of the Martial Emperor's secret treasure with Duan Tian. During this period they had only separated once. It was when they went their separate ways to explore the cave with 6 entrances. Come to think of it, Duan Tian must have encountered Lei Jun at that time and killed him. This Duan Tian is dead meat. Zhuyu sneered. He was clearly rejoicing in Lei Jun's misfortune. Su Qing's expression was calm, but he could not help but reveal a hint of surprise in his eyes. He was surprised by Duan Tian's boldness. It seems like Lei Zhong is dead meat this time. Su Qing sighed inwardly. Since Duan Tian had publicly announced that he had killed Lei Jun, it was clear that he was determined to kill Lei Zhong. What? You killed my brother? Lei Zhong's eyes narrowed, and his pale face changed again. His body, which was held by Duan Tian by the neck, trembled violently due to anger. His eyes were filled with extreme coldness. You're dead meat? You're dead meat. Lei Zhong roared in a hoarse voice. You won't have the chance to see if I'm dead meat or not. Duan Tian's expression remained unchanged. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he suddenly tightened his grip on Lei Zhong's neck. Crack. The crisp sound of bones breaking reverberated in the air. It sent chills down the spines of the onlookers as their scalps went numb. Under the watchful eyes of the onlookers, Lei Zhong, whose eyes were wide open, did not even have the time to scream before his head swung to the side. He was no longer breathing. His eyes, which were originally filled with anger, became dull and lifeless. Whoosh! Duan Tian lifted his hand and removed the spatial ring from Lei Zhong's hand. At the same time he released his grip and allowed Lei Zhong's body to fall. He fell from a height of hundreds of meters and turned into a pile of mush. Silence. The scene was terrifyingly quiet. Although everyone knew Duan Tian would definitely kill Lei Zhong when he said he had killed Lei Jun before, they did not expect him to kill Lei Zhong as well. After all, after he admitted that he had killed Lei Jun, even if he did not kill Lei Zhong, he would still end up the same way after he left the Emperor Wu's secret treasure. Since the outcome would be the same, and he had taken the initiative to admit that he had killed Lei Jun, it was only natural that he would not let Lei Zhong go. Due to this reason Lei Zhong was dead. Although it was within their expectations, it still made them tremble with fear. This was especially true for the disciples from the three major second-rate forces. They knew very well the position of the two brothers, Lei Zhong and Lei Jun in Izumo sect. These two brothers were not only the leading figures of the current generation of Izumo sect's young generation and the future pillars of Izumo sect, but they were also the direct disciples of the two powerhouses in Izumo sect. The strongest powerhouse in Izumo sect was Lei Zhong's master. He was also the only martial monarch powerhouse in Izumo sect, the Supreme Elder. As for the second strongest powerhouse in Izumo sect, he was the current sect leader of Izumo sect, Lei Jun's master. The fact that Duan Lingtian had killed Lei Zhong and Lei Jun was equivalent to slapping the two powerhouses in Izumo sect. He had completely disregarded their dignity. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, a few more people arrived at the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure one after another. They just happened to see Duan Lingtian killing Lei Zhong and smashing him into a pile of minced meat. Who's so unlucky to have the guts to provoke senior brother Lingtian? Among this group of people, there was no lack of five-element sect's disciples. They could not help but mourn for Lei Zhong. Of course, the reason they thought so was because they did not know Lei Zhong's identity. Otherwise, they would not have taken it for granted. He's actually still alive? Among the few surviving five-element sect's disciples, one of them had a hint of horror and disbelief in his eyes when he looked at Duan Lingtian. It was as though he had seen something unbelievable. Duan Lingtian. At the same time, a swift figure appeared in the sky above the central palace just in time. The moment Zhang Yan arrived, he saw the scene of Duan Lingtian killing someone. That person doesn't seem to be the young powerhouse who came in from entrance number 2 with us? Looking at the corpse that was smashed into a pile of minced meat, Zhang Yan's eyes flashed with a hint of astonishment. Since he did not come in from entrance number 2, he could only come in from entrance number 1. During his journey here, he had a certain understanding of the group of young powerhouses who entered Emperor Wu's secret treasure. He knew that other than entrance number 2, there was only one other person who came in from entrance number 1. The people who came in from entrance number 1 were the group of young disciples from the three major second-rate forces in the northern desert. Duan Lingtian actually killed a second-rate force's disciple in front of so many people? The corner of Zhang Yan's mouth could not help but twitch slightly. Although he had killed a few second-rate forces disciples along the way, it was under the circumstance that no one else knew about it. He knew he did not have the courage to kill a second-rate force's disciple in front of so many people. Although there was only a difference of one word between a second-rate force and a third-rate force like the emotion-severing sect that he was in, the difference in strength and foundation was like heaven and earth. Xian Bei, what's going on? In the end, Zhang Yan could not help but look at the young monk standing nearby and asked through voice transmission. At this moment, the young monk looked at the purple-clad young man standing in the distance in a daze. He did not regain his senses for a long time. Zhang Yan's voice transmission caused him to shudder and regain his senses. He could not help but smile wryly as he replied through voice transmission. What else could it be? Duan Lingtian killed Lei Zhong from Izumo sect. When Duan Lingtian displayed the strength of 1,200 ancient horn dragons without using any spirit weapon, Zhang Yan knew what he was doing. He knew he was far from being a match for Duan Lingtian. Lei Zhong? Where have I heard this name before? Chapter 987. Izumo sect. Xian Bei reminded him. In the northern desert, the three second-rate forces, Izumo sect, Enika sect and North Nether sect, undoubtedly stood at the peak. As one of the many third-rate forces in the northern desert, although they did not have much interaction with the second-rate forces, they still heard about some of the things that happened in the second-rate forces. Lei Zhong? Izumo sect? After Xian Bei's reminder, Zhang Yan's thoughts gradually became clearer. Soon his face was filled with shock. His eyes could not help but narrow as he muttered, could this Lei Zhong be the strongest powerhouse among the younger generation in Izumo sect? Then Zhang Yan looked at Duan Lingtian and felt his scalp go numb. This Duan Lingtian, his strength. How much has he improved? He can even kill Lei Zhong from Izumo sect. He had long heard about Lei Zhong, the strongest powerhouse among the younger generation in Izumo sect. According to the rumors, Lei Zhong's cultivation base had already entered the 4th level void transformation, and he had even comprehended the 4th level advanced fire concept. In the entire northern desert, he was considered a top powerhouse among the young powerhouses. He was far from what he could compare to now. However, such a powerful young powerhouse had been killed by Duan Lingtian. For a moment, Zhang Yan could not help but be shocked by Duan Lingtian's current strength. At the same time he could not help but break out in cold sweat for Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian is really bold. He actually dares to kill Lei Zhong. It's said that Lei Zhong is not only the strongest powerhouse among the younger generation in Izumo sect, but he's also the direct disciple of the martial monarch powerhouse in Izumo sect. He had killed the direct disciple of a martial monarch powerhouse in front of so many people. Zhang Yan could almost foresee Duan Lingtian's fate in the future. Duan Lingtian killed Lei Zhong, the strongest powerhouse among the younger generation in Izumo sect? Duan Lingtian has already announced that he's leaving our five-element sect? Nangong Qin, Nangong Yi, Tan Huan and Tianzhen, who had rushed to the central area of Emperor Wu's secret treasure, were all shocked by the news they heard from the other five-element sect's disciples. Even though Nangong Chen's expression was still cold, his eyes were filled with fear. Tianwu, the energy in your body seems to be extremely unstable. When you tried to mobilize and cast the fire profundity earlier, I could clearly feel that it was completely out of your control. Duan Lingtian, who had become the center of attention, did not care about the gazes of others. He once again returned to Feng Tianwu's side and spoke with a solemn expression via voice transmission. Not only that, once you cast the fire profundity, it might trigger the fire spirit body's energy in your body and cause it to erupt in advance. At that time, I'm afraid your life will be in danger. When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, a hint of worry could be seen between his brows. Elder brother Duan, you don't have to worry. If it's not necessary, I won't cast the fire profundity. Feng Tianwu's heart was filled with warmth when she heard Duan Lingtian's concern. Her beautiful face blushed slightly as she replied softly and obediently. All right. Upon hearing Feng Tianwu's words, Duan Lingtian felt relieved. As long as Feng Tianwu did not mobilize and cast the fire profundity by force, the fire spirit body's energy in her body would not erupt. At the same time, Duan Lingtian looked around and noticed that there were many more familiar faces at the scene. For example, Zhang Yan, Nangong Qin, Nangong Yi, Tan Huan, Tianzhen, and the other five-element sect's disciples, Empyrean Temple's disciples, Blade sect's disciples and Emotion-Severing sect's disciples. Unfortunately, Qin Wei didn't make it here alive. The moment he thought of Qin Wei, Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh. Looks like the show of strength earlier is still effective. Duan Lingtian glanced at the group of young powerhouses around him and noticed that most of them had a hint of fear in their eyes when they looked at him. Even Su Qing, the strongest person among the younger generation in North Nether sect, and Zuyu, the strongest person among the younger generation in Anika sect, had a hint of dread in their eyes when they looked at him. Xianbei, you said earlier that you're interested in the profundity fragment in my hand? Are you trying to snatch it away from me? As though he was reminded of something, Duan Lingtian suddenly looked at Xianbei with a faint smile on his face. The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, everyone's eyes shifted to Xianbei. This monk from Empyrean Temple suddenly became the center of attention. Ah, bald donkey, didn't you want to snatch the profundity fragment in Duan Lingtian's hand earlier? You were interrupted earlier, so you didn't succeed. Now that nobody interrupted you, why aren't you snatching it away? Huang Daniu could not help but look at Xianbei when he recalled the earlier scene. He laughed mockingly. What? Senior brother Xianbei wanted to snatch the profundity fragment in Duan Lingtian's hand earlier? The few surviving Empyrean Temple disciples looked at each other in disbelief. They could see the shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. At this moment, there was only one thought in their minds. Was senior brother Xianbei's head kicked by a donkey? When Duan Lingtian looked at him, Xianbei realized something was wrong. When Duan Lingtian repeated what he said earlier, the corner of his mouth could not help but twitch. What a joke. The reason he said those words earlier was because he thought he could defeat Duan Lingtian with his strength. However, after witnessing Duan Lingtian's strength, he completely dispelled the thought of fighting with Duan Lingtian. He did not want to be humiliated. Duan Lingtian, the agreement between you and me is over. I know I'm no match for you. Taking a deep breath, Xianbei no longer cared about his reputation. His expression was that of a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. Duan Lingtian looked at Xianbei deeply. He did not intend to argue with him. He did not have a good impression of this little monk from Empyrean Temple, but he did not have a bad impression of him either. As for what the other party said earlier, he did not take it to heart. Even if Xianbei was in his position and possessed the profundity fragment, he would also say the same thing if he was in Xianbei's position. After all, as long as one was a martial artist, they would be interested in the profundity fragment. Duan Ling Tian, after leaving Emperor Wu's secret treasure, run as far as you can? Since you've announced your departure from Five Element Sect in front of so many people, I don't think Izumo Sect will attack Five Element Sect for the sake of their reputation. However, you're different. A voice transmission that was filled with concern sounded out by Duan Ling Tian's ears. For the sake of taking revenge for Lei Zhong and Lei Jun, Izumo Sect will surely spare no expense to kill you. Fortunately, you didn't come in through the same entrance as us. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to escape even if you wanted to. The person who sent the voice transmission was none other than Peng Bao, the Anika Sect's disciple. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Duan Ling Tian looked at Peng Bao, who was looking at him with concern. He felt warmth in his heart as he responded with a smile. Just like what he had said, he knew what he was doing. Since he dared to kill Lei Zhong, it meant he had prepared a way out for himself. Leaving Five Element Sect was only the first step. Naturally, the most important reason for leaving Five Element Sect was that he did not want to implicate Five Element Sect because of his own matters. He could leave without a word, but Five Element Sect could not. If Five Element Sect was annihilated by Izumo Sect because of him, he would not be at ease. Is this the palace left behind by the Martial Emperor Powerhouse? Was it the place where he died? Suddenly someone said, "That's right." At this moment, everyone, including Duan Ling Tian, shifted their attention away from Shen Bei to the gigantic palace. Their eyes shone brightly. They had come all the way here for the palace left behind by the Martial Emperor Powerhouse. Putting aside the other treasures in this palace, the Profound Profundity Fragment contained the Profound Profundity Fragment. Just the 3 profundity fragments in Emperor Wu's body alone were enough to drive anyone crazy. One of them was an Emperor Stage Profundity Fragment. The palace is surrounded by densely packed killing formations. How am I supposed to get in? Duan Ling Tian extended his spiritual energy. The moment it shrouded the palace, he discovered the terrifying killing formations. The power of these killing formations was in no way inferior to the killing formation at entrance number 2. Profundity Fragment. Just when Duan Ling Tian was feeling wary, a Blade Sect's disciple exclaimed excitedly. He dove down and dashed toward the palace, wanting to be the first to enter. As the saying went, the early bird gets the worm. Perhaps, in his opinion, the first person to enter the palace would have a higher chance of finding Emperor Wu's body and obtaining the Profundity Fragment in Emperor Wu's body. Whoosh! The Blade Sect's disciple was extremely fast. In just a moment he arrived in front of the palace and dashed toward the entrance. Haha! The Blade Sect's disciple stood outside the palace and laughed excitedly. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning as he dashed toward the entrance. When the young powerhouses from the other forces saw the Blade Sect's disciple making his move, they were eager to make their move as well. However, what happened in the next moment caused fear to appear on their faces. They immediately became obedient. The Blade Sect's disciple flew out. However, before he could even get close to the entrance of the palace, it was as though he was blocked by an invisible force. Boom! In the next instant, under the watchful eyes of the others, the Blade Sect's disciple's body mysteriously exploded and turned into a bloody rain that splattered in front of the entrance of the palace. Gasp! 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 Upon seeing this, the only thing that could be heard was the sound of people sucking in cold air. It's an inscription formation. Soon after, someone regained his senses. The way he looked at the gigantic palace changed completely. The way everyone looked at the palace was no longer as though they were looking at a pile of rare treasures. Instead, it was more like they were looking at a ferocious and terrifying beast. Their eyes were filled with fear. There's a killing formation around the palace. How are we going to get in? Many young powerhouses frowned. They had a troubled expression on their faces. The treasure was right in front of them. However, it was still a problem whether they could make it in alive. Since that Emperor Wu left this place behind and asked us to retrieve the 3 profundity fragments from his body, it's impossible for him to reject us. Chapter 988. Indeed. Since Emperor Wu left such a place behind, and his body is inside, logically speaking, it's impossible for him to not let us in. Many people agreed. Just when everyone was at a loss over the killing formation that enveloped the palace, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual energy that he extended out discovered an inkling of something. He discovered something. After the Blade Sect's disciple was killed by the killing formation that shrouded the palace, the killing formation seemed to have completed its mission. It gradually faded away before it disappeared. Don't tell me. That the killing formation that the martial emperor set up outside the palace can be broken as long as someone offers their life as a sacrifice? Duan Tian thought to himself as he raised his eyebrows. Since he had merged with the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu, he was no stranger to the idea of breaking a formation with a blood sacrifice. As long as the inscription master who set up the killing formation had the intention, he could set up the killing formation so that it could be broken with a blood sacrifice. As long as someone died under the killing formation would automatically be broken. Lucky young people, welcome. Just as Duan Tian was lost in his thoughts, a familiar yet unfamiliar voice entered the ears of everyone present on the scene, causing their faces to turn slightly solemn. After the killing formation is broken, a polyphony formation has been activated. Duan Tian's spiritual force noticed this at the first possible moment. It's the voice of that Emperor Wu powerhouse. At once, the group of young powerhouses present recognized the owner of the voice. Ever since they entered the Emperor Wu's secret treasure, they had heard this voice a few times. Soon after, the voice of the Emperor Wu powerhouse that left a message in the polyphony formation resonated again. The blood sacrifice is complete and the killing formation is broken. Lucky young people, all of you can enter now. The voice of the Emperor Wu powerhouse did not contain any emotions. It was extremely cold. The blood sacrifice is complete? When the group of young powerhouses present heard the words of the Emperor Wu powerhouse, they were stunned before they regained their senses. Horror dawned on them one after another. If that's the case, does this mean that it was that blade sect's disciple who used his own life to break the killing formation for us? According to the message left by the Emperor Wu, it was obvious that one of them had to die in order to break the killing array. Fortunately, I wasn't in a hurry to go in just now. Otherwise, I might have been the one to use the blood sacrifice array. It's too cruel. A person's life is required to be sacrificed in order to activate the killing formation outside this palace. Perhaps the inside of the palace is even more dangerous. The young experts present discussed animatedly. Their brows were filled with fear. They were afraid of the palace left behind by Emperor Wu. They were afraid of the dangers that might exist inside. Even Zuiyu and Su Qing didn't act rashly after hearing Emperor Wu's message. Let's go. Duan Tian smiled at Feng Qianwu, then called out to Huang Daniu, Su Li and Zhang Shouyong. He nodded at Peng Bao and took the lead to dive down. Feng Qianwu followed closely behind. She trusted Duan Tian unconditionally. As long as Duan Tian was by her side, she would not be afraid even if she had to go through a mountain of swords or a sea of flames. In her opinion, even if she had to die, she would have no regrets as long as she could die by the side of the person she loved. Let's go. Huang Daniu and the other two did not hesitate this time. When Duan Tian and Feng Qianwu moved, they followed closely behind. Duan Tian descended from the sky and opened a path with his spiritual energy. He flew straight to the entrance of the palace and arrived in front of the magnificent door in just a moment. Duan Tian stood in front of the door. He stretched out his hands and pressed them on the door. Suddenly he exerted his strength. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Suddenly the door opened slowly. It was majestic. Let's go. After opening the door, Duan Tian called out to the four people beside him and took the lead to fly in. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Feng Qianwu and the other three followed behind Duan Tian. Their figures instantly disappeared behind the door that was not fully opened. They completely disappeared before the eyes of the people outside. They're fine. Many people's eyes lit up immediately. Let's go in as well. Nangongyi raised his eyebrows. He flew out with Nangong Chen and entered the palace through the open door. Let's go. Zhang Yin and Xian Bei brought the surviving emotion-severing sect's disciples and Empyrean Temple's disciples and followed them. Subsequently, Peng Bao, Zuiyu, and Su Qing also brought the Anika sect's and North Nether sect's disciples and followed them in. Whoosh. Duan Tian was the first to enter the palace. As soon as he entered, his spiritual energy detected the dense aura fluctuations of inscription formations that were emitted from within. Among them, there was an inscription formation that practically enveloped the earth and sky regions that they had to pass through. Illusory formation. Duan Tian came to a halt. As he muttered to himself, his face turned solemn. This was because the inscription formation he discovered earlier was this illusory formation. If he wanted to enter the palace, he would have to go through it. As long as he entered the illusory formation, he would fall into an illusion. As for where he would end up after he passed through the illusion, it was not something he could control. Illusory formation? Feng Qianwu and the other three who were following behind Duan Lingtian heard Duan Lingtian's whisper and could not help but be shocked. They did not doubt Duan Lingtian's words at all. Yes, it's an illusory formation. Duan Lingtian nodded and said solemnly, this illusory formation does not have any lethality. It's similar to the illusory formation we've experienced earlier. It's only used to separate us so we can search for treasures in this palace. Illusory formation was the abbreviation of illusory formation. If we want to enter the palace, we'll have to go through it. Therefore, I'm afraid the four of us will have to part ways here. Duan Lingtian said. What's that Emperor Wu trying to do? He's always trying to separate us. I still want to be with you and reap more benefits. Huang Daniu looked at Duan Lingtian and said unhappily, how would I know what he's trying to do? Duan Lingtian was speechless when he saw Huang Daniu complaining to him. He rolled his eyes at Huang Daniu. Then, everyone has to be careful. Zhang Shouyong said. Yes. Su Li nodded. Tian Wu. Duan Lingtian looked at Feng Qianwu who was next to him and said through voice transmission with a solemn expression, if it's not necessary, don't activate or cast the fire profundity again. Otherwise, the energy of the fire spirit body in your body will surely erupt and even harm your life. Okay. Feng Tianwu heard the concern in Duan Lingtian's words, and her drop-dead gorgeous face revealed a rare smile that could captivate all living things, causing Duan Lingtian to be slightly absent-minded for a moment. Two wisps of crimson red suffused Feng Tianwu's beautiful face when she saw Duan Lingtian looking at her in a daze, and it seemed as if blood would drip out from her face. She was extremely embarrassed. Duan Lingtian retracted his gaze awkwardly and touched his nose embarrassedly. Then he changed the topic. All of you can go in first. Let's go. Let's go look for that Emperor Wu's body. If I can find it, I'll be rich. Huang Daniu cried out excitedly and flew out. Almost at the same time when Huang Daniu flew out, his figure was concealed by clouds of black mist that appeared out of thin air and disappeared before Duan Lingtian and the others' eyes. He had officially activated the illusory formation. Duan Lingtian, I'll go in first. Su Li entered the illusory formation after bidding farewell to Duan Lingtian. Then Zhang Shouyong followed suit. Elder brother Duan, you have to be careful too. Feng Qianwu warned Duan Lingtian. She only entered the illusory formation after getting Duan Lingtian's promise. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, two figures appeared next to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian could not help but look at them. With just a glance, Duan Lingtian recognized the two of them. Nangong Chen and Nangong Yi. Duan Lingtian nodded at the two of them as a greeting. Then, without waiting for their response, he flew into the black mist and disappeared before the eyes of the Nangong brothers. It's the illusory formation again. Nangong Yi frowned as he looked at the familiar black mist before him. Does this mean the two of us are going to be separated again? Earlier, when he first entered, he was separated from Nangong Chen due to the illusory formation at the bottom of the stone stairs on the side of the high platform. After that, they only met again after exploring Emperor Wu's secret treasure for half a month. Moreover, they had to rely on their telepathy. As twin brothers, Nangong Yi and Nangong Chen could sense each other's approximate location as long as the distance between them was not too far apart. Telepathy. Nangong Chen reminded him coolly. Yes, telepathy. How could I forget such an important thing? With our telepathy, we can definitely sense each other's location in this palm-sized palace. Nangong Yi's eyes lit up when he heard Nangong Chen's reminder. Idiot. Nangong Chen replied coolly. Then, before Nangong Yi could react, he flew out and entered the illusory formation that was shrouded in black mist before he disappeared. You're the idiot. Nangong Yi snapped back to his senses and cursed before he followed in with a dissatisfied expression. Soon after, Zhang Yan and Shen Bei arrived as well. It's the illusory formation again. Although they were shocked by the illusory formation before them, the two of them did not hesitate and flew into the illusory formation directly. Then the disciples from Five Elements Sect, Blade Sect, Empyrean Temple, and Emotion Severing Sect entered one after another. Among the disciples from the 6 major forces that entered from entrance number 2, only the disciples from the 4 major forces survived. As for the disciples from the other 2 major forces, they were all killed. After the group of people from entrance number 2 disappeared into the illusory formation, the group of people from entrance number 1 arrived late and appeared in the palace one by one. The leaders were Su Qing and Zui Yu. Let's go. Su Qing called out to the 3 surviving North Nether Sect's disciples and flew into the illusory formation. Duan Lingtian, I hope you're really hiding something when you used your spirit weapon earlier. Otherwise, if I find out that the strength of 1,600 ancient horned dragons that you cast after using your spirit weapon is your full strength, I'll definitely kill you." After Su Qing and the others entered, Zuiyu's eyes flashed coldly. Chapter 989. If Duan Lingtian used his spirit weapon and unleashed his full strength, his strength would only be equivalent to the strength of 1,600 ancient horned dragons. He was confident he could kill Duan Lingtian. With the 4th level void transformation concept that he had comprehended and his cultivation base at the 4th level void transformation, his strength would be equivalent to the strength of 1,620 ancient horned dragons once he used his spirit weapon. In his opinion, his strength was more than 20 ancient horned dragons stronger than Duan Lingtian. If he still could not kill Duan Lingtian, he would not deserve to be the strongest person among the younger generation in Anika sect. When Duan Lingtian fought with Lei Zhong, he seemed to have used a few types of concepts. Moreover, their levels were quite high. Zuiyu's eyes gleamed as he recalled the scene when Duan Lingtian fought with Lei Zhong. He thought to himself, perhaps, it's because concept is more important than origin energy when he unleashed the strength of 1,200 ancient horned dragons without using his spirit weapon. Therefore, after using a spirit weapon, the increase in strength from the spirit weapon is not strong. Zuiyu was even more certain when he thought of this. Now I just need to confirm it. Once I confirm that Duan Lingtian's strength is only 1,600 ancient horned dragons when he unleashes his full strength, I'll be able to kill him myself before the people from Izumo sect kill him. Zuiyu's eyes were filled with greed when he thought of this. He was greedy for the profundity fragment in Duan Lingtian's hand. Naturally, Duan Lingtian did not know about Zuiyu's thoughts. Otherwise, he would have been shocked by Zuiyu's judgment. Just as Zuiyu thought, Duan Lingtian's strength was indeed more important than origin energy. The strength of 1,600 ancient horned dragons was the limit of the strength that Duan Lingtian could exert at this moment. First the grassland and now the desert? In the illusory formation, Duan Lingtian was in a vast desert. All he could see was yellow sand. There was no green or blue at all. Young man, head east. Just as Duan Lingtian was looking around, not knowing where to go, a familiar yet strange voice came into his ears. It was the voice of the Emperor Wu powerhouse who left the secret treasure of the Emperor Wu. After the prompt, Duan Lingtian knew the destination of his trip. He stepped into the air and flew towards the east at lightning speed. Duan Lingtian originally thought that this time would be the same as last time, where they would go all the way to the end. But he soon realized that he was overthinking things. Young man north. Young man west. Young man southwest. The message left by the Emperor Wu in the polyphony formation, coupled with the illusory formation that Duan Lingtian was in, was clearly transmitted into Duan Lingtian's ears, causing Duan Lingtian to be exhausted from running around. Finally, Duan Lingtian reached the end. Where did that Emperor Wu powerhouse lead me to? Why did I have to change direction so many times? Duan Lingtian walked out of the illusory formation curiously. After walking out of the illusory formation, what appeared in front of Duan Lingtian was a long corridor that was extremely spacious. On both sides of the long corridor, there was a row of neat stone rooms. There was a statue at the entrance of each stone room. It was either a human-shaped statue or a beast-shaped statue. They looked so lifelike that they could be mistaken for the real thing. These stone rooms? Out of curiosity, Duan Lingtian approached the first stone room and poked his head out to see what was inside. With just a glance, he saw that there was a stone platform in the stone room that was not very spacious. There was a sword on the stone platform. It was an extraordinary sword. A Grade 2 Spirit Sword. Duan Lingtian, who had merged with the memories of the Reincarnation Emperor Wu, had inherited the Reincarnation Emperor Wu's eyesight as a royal grade weapons craftsman. He could tell the grade of a spirit weapon with just a glance. Ordinary people would need to test the grade of a spirit weapon to verify it. There's a Grade 2 Spirit Sword here? Duan Lingtian was stunned for a moment before he strode into the stone room. Although this sword is only a Grade 2 spirit weapon, the material used is not bad. I can keep it. At the same time, Duan Lingtian was about to enter the stone room to keep the Grade 2 spirit sword. As soon as he stepped into the stone room, horror dawned on his face. Whoosh! An ear-piercing sound of wind whistling entered his ears in just a blink of an eye, accompanied by a thick and heavy fist. To be more precise, it was a stone fist. The human-shaped statue standing at the entrance of the stone room had moved. As soon as Duan Lingtian entered the stone room, it threw a punch at Duan Lingtian at lightning speed. The human-shaped statue's fist was surrounded by blue waves that contained a vast and rolling energy that seemed to be able to break everything. Whoosh. Unfortunately, as Duan Tian raised his hand at lightning speed, the human-shaped statue's stone fist was easily caught by him without any pressure. From the beginning until the end, Duan Tian's face was calm. He did not feel any pressure at all. Bang! At this moment, the human-shaped statue moved again. It took a step forward and landed on the ground with a loud thud. Subsequently, its other leg flashed out like a bolt of lightning and attacked towards Duan Tian's lower body. The blue ripple rose sharply and seemed to have transformed into a rolling and stormy wave that charged towards Duan Tian. At the same time, the heaven and earth energy above its head stirred and finally gathered into 180 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons. In other words, the human-shaped statue's attack was equivalent to the strength of 300 ancient horned dragons. 7th level Void Interpretation? 1st level Advanced Water Concept? Although the human-shaped statue's speed was fast, it was like the speed of a turtle in Duan Tian's eyes. It was not worth mentioning at all. Duan Tian casually kicked out with only origin energy, and it easily broke the human-shaped statue's leg that was attacking him. Bang! The human-shaped statue's broken leg flew out and crashed onto the ground, turning into a pile of gravel and stone chips. Bang! At the same time, Duan Tian's hand shook and punched back. The vast energy swept towards the human-shaped statue and shattered it, turning it into stone chips that filled the sky. At the same time, 10 origin stones and a blue fragment appeared before Duan Tian's eyes. The blue fragment was, naturally, the water concept fragment. The inscription formation in the statue is hidden really well. I didn't intentionally use my spiritual energy to investigate earlier, but I didn't discover anything. Duan Tian muttered to himself. 10 mid-grade origin stones and a first-level water concept fragment. My gains are not bad. Duan Tian was very satisfied that he could obtain such gains with just a casual punch and kick. After taking the grade 2 spirit sword in the stone room, Duan Tian walked to the next stone room. There was a pill bottle in the next stone room. I wonder what kind of pill it is. Out of curiosity, Duan Tian ignored the beast-shaped statue at the entrance of the stone room and quickly rushed into the stone room to grab the pill bottle in his hand. When he opened it, he found that there were 3 pills inside. Grade 2 life recovery pills? The purity is less than 70%. Trash. Frowning, Duan Tian casually threw the pill bottle on the ground and looked at the 3 grade 2 life recovery pills in disdain. If someone saw this scene, they would definitely scold Duan Tian for being a wastrel. That was a grade 2 life recovery pill. A high-grade healing pill. Ordinary people might not even have it even if they wanted it. However, in Duan Tian's eyes, the grade 2 life recovery pill with a purity of less than 70% was a piece of trash. A complete piece of trash that was not even worth mentioning. He who had merged with the reincarnation Emperor Wu's lifetime of refining medicine, had already condensed a grade 1 pill fire and became a noble grade 1 alchemist. As long as he had enough medicinal herbs, let alone a grade 2 life recovery pill with high purity, he could even make a grade 1 life recovery pill with high purity without any pressure. However, Duan Tian thought the 3 grade 2 life recovery pills were trash, but the beast-shaped statue guarding the entrance of the stone room did not think so. Almost at the same time when Duan Tian threw the pill bottle away, the beast-shaped statue at the entrance of the stone room moved. The flames on its body surged as it flew towards Duan Tian. This beast-shaped statue had the same strength as the human-shaped statue from before. It could not even withstand a single blow from Duan Tian. Duan Tian did not even need to use his concept. He merely swept out with his 3rd level void transformation stage origin energy, and it was enough to completely crush the energy on his body and destroy him. Boom, 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 boom. The beast-shaped statue that was destroyed by Duan Tian turned into a pile of flying rocks and piled up into a small hill. Before this, Duan Tian had made his move at lightning speed and took the 10 mid-grade origin stones and the 1st level fire concept fragment that dropped from the beast-shaped statue. Are there any treasures that are tempting? Duan Tian swept along the long corridor. All the statues at the entrance of the stone room were destroyed by him along the way. All the stone rooms were turned upside down by him. However, he only managed to collect some grade 2 spirit weapons and grade 1 spirit weapons. As for the pills, he threw them away casually. Even a precious healing elixir like a grade 1 life recovery elixir was no exception. It was thrown away by him like trash. According to Duan Tian, grade 1 spirit weapons and grade 1 spirit weapons could not be refined. Even if a grade 2 or grade 1 spirit artifact was slightly inferior, it could still be reforged. However, it was impossible to reforge pills. Pills with low purity, even if they were grade 1 pills, were an eyesore to him. He did not even bother to throw them into his spatial ring. Is this the end? Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian found himself at the end of the long corridor. As he swept his way, the statues at the entrance of the stone room became stronger. However, in the face of his powerful strength, even the stronger statues could not withstand a single blow from him. They were all shattered by him easily. There's another stone room over there. When he reached the end of the long corridor, Duan Lingtian saw a stone room in front of him. It was an independent stone room. Without any hesitation, Duan Lingtian walked over. At this moment, Duan Lingtian sensed a slight fluctuation of an inscription formation. He knew that he must have activated one of the inscription formations. Young man, congratulations on entering the 4-entry-1 stone room. If you're the only one left in the circle of light after an hour, you can enter the 4-entry-1 stone room and obtain the treasure you deserve. 4-entry-1 stone room. Chapter 990. Halo? What's a halo? Duan Lingtian frowned as he looked around. However, he did not see the halo mentioned by the powerhouse Emperor Wu. However, at this moment he noticed a faint light suddenly shot out from the stone room in front of him. It enveloped him and formed a halo. At this moment he was completely enveloped by the halo. After an hour I'll be the only one left in the halo. Then I'll be able to enter the 4-entry-1 stone room and obtain the treasure inside? Duan Lingtian shifted his attention elsewhere now that he had the halo. Soon after, Duan Lingtian discovered something. Apart from the long corridor that he had walked through, there was another long corridor in each of the other 3 directions of the 4-entry-1 stone room. Don't tell me there's another 3 people? At this moment, Duan Lingtian vaguely guessed the origin of the name 4-entry-1 stone room. 4 to 1. 3 out of 4 would be eliminated and 1 would enter. It seems like I'll have to wait for an hour when there's only 1 person left in the halo. Then the 4-entry-1 stone room will officially open. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to figure this out. I wonder who the other 3 people are. Duan Lingtian looked at the other 3 long corridors with a gleam in his eyes. They're not here yet. It's obvious that they're not strong. It's impossible for them to be Su Qing, Zuoyu and Peng Bao. It's a good thing that I ran fast. Otherwise I would have been killed by that stupid stone man. At that time my reputation would have been completely ruined. All of a sudden, a loud voice resonated from one of the long corridors and entered Duan Lingtian's ears. It made Duan Lingtian's expression turn strange. What a coincidence. The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth curled into a ridiculing smile as he looked towards the corridor where the voice came from. At the same time, a tall and sturdy figure appeared in front of him. Duan Lingtian? After the tall and sturdy young man walked out of the corridor, he saw the purple-clothed young man standing not far away. He couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. Daniel, we are really fated to meet. Seeing the sturdy young man, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but laugh. The person who came was none other than Huang Daniel. Ah, Duan Lingtian, it seems that my luck is not bad. Even the heavens are helping me, allowing me to meet you here. Let's go. Help me get rid of those broken stone men. I want those spirit artifacts and those bottles of pills. Huang Daniel said with shining eyes. Of course, Duan Lingtian knew what the stone man Huang Daniel was talking about was. It was none other than the human-shaped statues that he had destroyed along the way from the long corridor behind him. Those statues couldn't even withstand a single blow from him. However, to Huang Daniel, some of the statues were existences that were hard to defeat. Let's go. Thinking that there was still almost an hour before the opening of the 4 entrances and 1 stone room, Duan Lingtian followed Huang Daniel and entered the long corridor that Huang Daniel came from. Once again, Duan Lingtian destroyed the human-shaped and beast-shaped statues that Huang Daniel couldn't handle one by one. As for Huang Daniel, he was enjoying the fruits of Duan Lingtian's labor. He kept the spirit artifacts and pills in the stone rooms one by one with a smile on his face. Daniel, there's something I need to tell you. Seeing how happy Huang Daniel was, Duan Lingtian decided to pour cold water on him to wake him up. Huang Daniel looked at Duan Lingtian in confusion, but the smile on his face didn't disappear. It's the independent stone room at the end of the long corridor. Only 1 person can enter. Including you and me, there are a total of 4 people competing. Duan Lingtian told him everything he knew. F***CK. What kind of F*** king luck do I have? I can't believe I'm assigned to compete with you. I wonder who are the other two unlucky fellas like me? Huang Daniu could not help but curse after listening to Duan Lingtian's words. He had a bitter expression on his face as he spoke. Daniu, you've changed so quickly. Who was the one who said he's lucky and that even God is helping him by allowing him to meet me here? Duan Lingtian looked at Huang Daniu with a faint smile on his face. He clearly remembered what Huang Daniu said when they first met. Well, I didn't know there was a special stone room at that time. I'm so unlucky to be assigned to the same room as a freak like you. Huang Daniu smiled wryly. Very soon he recovered. Fortunately, there are two unlucky fellas accompanying me. Let's go and see who the other two unlucky fellas are. When Duan Lingtian and Huang Daniu returned to the 4 entrances and 1 stone room, they noticed 2 young men standing there. The atmosphere was heavy. The 2 young men stood facing each other. The smell of gunpowder could be felt coming from them. It was only when Duan Lingtian appeared that both of them shifted their attention to Duan Lingtian. With just a glance, their faces changed completely. Duan Lingtian. One of them gulped hard and his face was pale. The other person was not any better. When he looked at Duan Lingtian, there was a hint of fear in his eyes as though he had encountered a ferocious beast. How boring. I thought it would be someone from a second-rate force. I didn't expect it to be the 2 of you. Huang Daniu was standing next to Duan Lingtian. He could not help but feel disappointed when he saw the 2 of them. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. Naturally, he knew why Huang Daniu said that. He wanted to see a second-rate force's disciple being humiliated in front of him. Who knew the person who was assigned to the same room as them was not a second-rate force's disciple? Duan Lingtian had some impression of the 2 people in front of him. One of them was an emotion-severing sex disciple, and the other was a secular disciple from the Empyrean Temple. What? Are the 2 of you going to compete with me? Duan Lingtian walked into the light circle around the independent stone room at a leisurely pace. He narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the 2 people in front of him with a faint smile. No. Of course not. I'll leave now. The 2 of them waved their hands hurriedly and retreated out of the light circle around the independent stone room as though they were escaping. Their figures disappeared into the long corridor that they came from. What a joke. This person was someone who could kill the strongest person among the younger generation in the second-rate force, Izumo sect. How would they dare to compete with him? At once, only Duan Lingtian and Huang Daniu were left outside of the 4-entry, 1 stone room. Huang Daniu retreated out of the light circle tactfully. Duan Lingtian, you're going to be rich this time. The treasures in this independent 4-entry, 1 stone room must be extraordinary. Huang Daniu stood outside the light circle and looked at Duan Lingtian enviously. Duan Lingtian smiled and did not say anything. However, his sparkling eyes showed that he was looking forward to the treasures in the stone room. Time passed by quietly. An hour passed by quickly. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. As the light circle around the stone room flashed, a layer of light shield rose around the light circle and shrouded Duan Lingtian and the 4-entry, 1 stone room. It seemed to have formed an independent space. Daniu, don't touch that light shield. That's a killing formation. Almost at the same time when the light shield rose, Duan Lingtian's spiritual energy probed it and warned Huang Daniu immediately. Huang Daniu nodded solemnly and said, "The door of the stone room is open. Go in quickly." Upon hearing Huang Daniu's reminder, Duan Lingtian noticed that a stone door had appeared at the side of the 4-entry, 1 stone room that was originally closed. The stone door was pushed open and opened. After informing Huang Daniu, Duan Lingtian flew out and entered the stone room. Almost at the same time when Duan Lingtian entered, the stone door at the side of the stone room closed again, trapping Duan Lingtian inside. Unlucky, I'm really unlucky. Huang Daniu shook his head, turned around, and left in search of another opportunity that belonged to him. Duan Lingtian passed through the stone door and entered the spacious stone room. The stone room that entered his eyes was not much different from the stone rooms that he had entered before. If there was a difference, it would be that there was no spirit weapon here, nor was there a pill bottle that stored pills. Rumble. All of a sudden, a soft sound came from behind, causing Duan Lingtian's expression to change drastically. The moment Duan Lingtian regained his senses, he discovered that the stone door behind him had closed again, trapping him in this airtight stone room. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to break through the door, rumble, rumble, rumble. A series of loud noises came from above, causing Duan Lingtian to raise his head involuntarily. With just a glance, Duan Lingtian saw the ceiling of the stone room move and open by itself, opening up a way for him to leave the stone room. Young man, congratulations. You're one step closer to my corpse. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's spiritual energy probed again. When the ceiling moved, it activated the polyphony formation in the stone room, allowing the voice of the powerhouse, Emperor Wu, to enter his ears again. One step closer? Initially, Duan Lingtian was puzzled by the message left by the powerhouse, Emperor Wu. Soon after, he recalled his experience of advancing to the next round and seemed to have understood something. It seems like when I'm advancing to the next round, other places are also advancing to the next round. Only the person who makes it to the end will be able to see the body of the powerhouse, Emperor Wu, and obtain the 3 profundity fragments in his body. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to guess all of this. The treasure in this stone room. Now that Duan Lingtian knew he was not trapped in the stone room, he heaved a sigh of relief as he looked at the treasure on the stone platform not far away. It was a plant that was planted in a flower pot. It was completely green and shone with a faint green light. To be more precise, it was a blade of grass. When Duan Lingtian saw the shimmering green light on the blade of grass, he knew it was not simple. However, he could not recognize it. All he could do was search through his memories regarding the reincarnation Emperor Wu. Immortal Spirit Herb. Chapter 991. Immortal Spirit Herb. It's an immortal spirit herb. Ah. Xiong Quan's Dantian can be repaired. Xiong Quan's Dantian can be repaired. Duan Lingtian, whose face was filled with wild joy, lost his composure and laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with excitement and joy. Xiong Quan. That year, when he was still in the Crimson Sky Kingdom, Xiong Quan was someone who followed him silently and did his best for him without any complaints. Even to the extent that when he was in danger many times, it was Xiong Quan who helped him out and protected him. A few years later, in the Eternal Jade Restaurant in the ancient city of Everlast in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, Xiong Quan, in order to protect him, had his Dantian crippled by a void initiation stage martial artist and left his side to return to his hometown. Duan Lingtian had never forgotten about the crippling of Xiong Quan's Dantian all these years. Even to the extent that as time passed, he felt more and more guilty in his heart. He owed Xiong Quan too much. Last time, when the Darkhan dynasty's martial competition ended and he returned to his hometown, he did not see Xiong Quan because of his guilt. At that time he made up his mind. When he saw Xiong Quan again, Xiong Quan's Dantian would be repaired. I originally thought that I would have to find the great treasure left behind by the reincarnation Emperor Wu to obtain the quasi-royal grade resurrection pill to help Xiong Quan repair his Dantian. But I never imagined that I would encounter an immortal spirit herb here. Looking at the plant with 3 leaves before him, the excitement in Duan Lingtian's eyes was indescribable. Immortal spirit herb, a legendary medicinal herb. Even in the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu, the immortal spirit herb only existed in legends. He had only heard of it but never seen it. Today, Duan Lingtian was able to recognize the immortal spirit herb because of the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu. Although the rebirth martial emperor had never seen an immortal spirit herb before, he had heard many legends about it. He even knew some of the characteristics of the immortal spirit herb. Immortal spirit herbs had upright roots and leaves that flickered with a green glow. Most importantly, the veins on its leaves were completely different from ordinary medicinal herbs. The veins on the leaves of ordinary herbs were straight in the middle and bifurcated on both sides. The patterns on the immortal spirit grass were in the shape of a whirlpool. Strands of green light extended from the center of the whirlpool, giving off an extraordinary feeling. Because of this, Duan Lingtian could confirm that the plant with 2 leaves in front of him was the immortal spirit herb that he had been dreaming of. In the past, he knew about the existence of the immortal spirit herb and knew that it could help Xiong Quan repair his Dantian. However, because the immortal spirit grass was too ethereal and illusory, he never thought that he would be able to obtain it. He thought he would only be able to use the quasi-royal grade resurrection pill or even the royal grade resurrection pill to heal Xiong Quan's Dantian after he found the great treasure left behind by the rebirth martial emperor. Now that I have this immortal spirit herb, I don't need to wait for the reincarnation Emperor Wu to retrieve the resurrection pill to help Xiong Quan recover his Dantian. Duan Lingtian was overjoyed as he looked at the immortal spirit herb in front of him. This immortal spirit herb has a total of 3 leaves. I only need one of them to heal Xiong Quan's Dantian. As for the other 2 leaves, I'll give one to brother Zhang so that he can heal sister-in-law's Dantian. Duan Lingtian had a plan in mind as he looked at the immortal spirit herb in front of him. Zhang Shouyong's wife, Wang Qiong, also had her Dantian damaged and could not cultivate. Perhaps Zhang Shouyong's current strength was far from his, but it was Zhang Shouyong who had saved his life in the Eternal Jade restaurant in the ancient city of Everlast. Otherwise he would not be where he was today. A drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring. Moreover, Zhang Shouyong had saved his life. If Brother Zhang knew about this, he would definitely be very happy. Duanling Tian took a deep breath and put away the immortal spirit herb as though it was a treasure. The immortal spirit herb was different from ordinary herbs. Ordinary medicinal herbs withered easily. However, the immortal spirit herb was a legendary herb. Even if it left the soil, it would not wither. Looks like I'll have to change my plan after I leave Emperor Wu's secret treasure. I'll return to the Darkhan dynasty first to heal Xiong Quan and sister-in-law's Dantian before I look for the great treasure left behind by the reincarnation Emperor Wu. Duanling Tian thought to himself. From the moment he killed Lei Zhong, he no longer planned to stay in the Five-Element sect, nor did he plan to stay in the northern desert. He was prepared to look for the great treasure left behind by the reincarnation Emperor Wu during his second life. Although he did not know the exact location until now. As long as he could find a rough map of the Cloud Continent, he would be able to confirm the location of the place and retrieve the great treasure left behind by the reincarnation Emperor Wu. However, now that he had unexpectedly obtained the immortal spirit herb in the Emperor Wu's secret treasure, it disrupted his plan. He decided. After leaving the Emperor Wu's secret treasure, he was not in a hurry to look for the great treasure left behind by the reincarnation Emperor Wu. He would return to the Darkhan dynasty first to heal Xiong Quan and Wang Qiong's Dantian. As for the rest, he would make other plans later. I wonder what's up there. After putting away the immortal spirit herb, Duanling Tian returned to his senses and lifted his head to look at the open ceiling. At the same time, his eyes lit up as he leaped into the air. Whoosh. After a while, Duanling Tian leaped into the air and left the 4-entry one-stone room beneath his feet. He arrived at another place. This seems to be another level of the central palace? Duanling Tian looked around for a while. His heart jolted as he vaguely guessed. The central palace was located in the central area of the Emperor Wu's secret treasure. It was also the resting place of the Emperor Wu powerhouse who left behind the Emperor Wu's secret treasure. His body was stored there. Most of the young powerhouses, including Duanling Tian, had come for the 3 profundity fragments in the body of the Emperor Wu powerhouse. Especially the Emperor Stage profundity fragment. It was a first-rate treasure even in the entire Cloud Continent. One could imagine. After obtaining the Emperor Stage profundity fragment, even if he did not use it himself, he could still find a 9th-level martial monarch powerhouse who had comprehended the corresponding profundity and do him a favor. He could even make that 9th-level martial monarch powerhouse swear on the 99 heavenly tribulation to protect him for life. Once that 9th-level martial monarch powerhouse obtained the Emperor Stage profundity fragment, it would not be difficult for him to break through to the Emperor Wu stage and become an Emperor Wu powerhouse. In that case, it would be equivalent to having an Emperor Wu powerhouse as his backer. With an Emperor Wu powerhouse as his backer, would he not be able to do whatever he wanted on Cloud Continent in the future? If I'm not mistaken, this palace where the Emperor Wu powerhouse died has a total of 5 floors. Duanling Tian pondered for a moment as he recalled carefully. Although the palace he was in now only had 5 floors, each floor was much taller than an ordinary palace. Therefore, although this palace only had 5 floors, it was exceptionally tall. Young man, welcome to the 2nd floor of Qingfeng Palace. Since you're able to come here, you're qualified to know my title. Qingfeng Emperor Wu is my title. Just as Duanling Tian took a step forward and realized he had activated another polyphony formation, a familiar yet unfamiliar voice entered his ears in a timely manner. Qingfeng Palace? Qingfeng Emperor Wu? Duanling Tian's eyes lit up when he heard the voice. From the moment he found out about the Emperor Wu's secret treasure to the moment he entered the Emperor Wu's secret treasure, until just now, he knew nothing about the Emperor Wu who had left behind the Emperor Wu's secret treasure. However, now that the Emperor Wu who had left behind the Emperor Wu's secret treasure had taken the initiative to introduce himself, Duanling Tian was finally able to learn his title. As Duanling Tian who had merged with the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu, he naturally knew that the Emperor Wu on Cloud Continent had an honorific title that had accompanied him for almost his entire life. For example, the reincarnation Emperor Wu was an honorific title. Qingfeng Emperor Wu was the honorific title of the Emperor Wu powerhouse who had left behind the Emperor Wu's secret treasure. This is the 2nd level of Qingfeng Palace. I should have been on the 1st level previously. Qingfeng Palace has a total of 5 levels. Don't tell me we have to go up 1 level at a time? Duanling Tian guessed. As though he was supporting Duan Lingtian's guess, Qing Feng Emperor Wu's voice continued to reverberate. I've set up the 9-9 wood person pass on the second level of Qing Feng Palace. The first person to pass the 9-9 wood person pass will obtain a copper key and be able to ascend to the third level of Qing Feng Palace. After 10 breaths, the mirror image illusory formation will disappear, and the 9-9 wood person pass will be opened. Qing Feng Emperor Wu's voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears clearly. Mirror image illusory formation? Upon hearing Qing Feng Emperor Wu's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed. He immediately extended his spiritual energy and realized that everything around him was actually an illusion. It was all an illusory mirror image formed by the mirror image illusory formation. It did not really exist. He could only see but not touch. 9-9 would person pass? What's that? Would person? In the next 10 breaths, Duan Lingtian pondered. If it's just would person, so what if there are many of them? If I force my way through with all my might, they'll all turn into dust. Duan Lingtian was still very confident about his current strength. However, subconsciously, he felt that the 9-9 would person pass was not that simple. After all, it was a test left behind by a powerhouse like Emperor Wu. This is the second level of Qing Feng Palace. Logically speaking, the 9-9 wood person pass should be stronger than the human-shaped statues and beast-shaped statues on the first level of Qing Feng Palace. After comparing his experience on the first level of Qing Feng Palace, Duan Lingtian secretly guessed. On top of that, the person who passes the 9-9 wood person pass will only obtain a copper key? Isn't that Qing Feng Emperor Wu too stingy? Duan Lingtian's heart jolted as he thought to himself. On second thought, he felt that something was amiss. This is the second level of Qing Feng Palace. Logically speaking, the value of the reward obtained from passing this level would definitely not be lower than the Grade 1 spirit weapons and Grade 1 pills on the first level of Qing Feng Palace. Perhaps there's a secret behind the copper key that I don't know about. Chapter 992. 10 breaths of time was neither long nor short. 10 breaths of time passed quietly as Duan Lingtian's thoughts flashed through his mind. After 10 breaths of time, Duan Lingtian noticed that the mirror image illusory formation around him had disappeared. At the same time, he appeared in a long corridor again. Compared to the corridor on the first floor of Qing Feng Palace, the corridor on the second floor of Qing Feng Palace seemed to be narrower. Not only that, but there were also wooden figures standing in the corridor on the second floor of Qing Feng Palace. They were particularly eye-catching. These wooden figures were in groups of 2 or 3. They were either standing on the ground or in the air. They completely blocked the path to the other end of the corridor, not allowing anyone to pass. The group of wooden figures that appeared in the corridor were particularly dull. They did not move at all for a long time. So this is the 9-9 wooden figure stage? Duan Lingtian thought to himself as he raised his eyebrows. When Duan Lingtian extended his spiritual energy, he soon discovered the details of each and every one of the wooden figures that blocked his way. These wooden figures were no different from the human-shaped statues and beast-shaped statues on the first floor of Qing Feng Palace. There was an inscription formation set up in their bodies. There were origin stones and concept fragments in their bodies as well. Although Duan Lingtian's spiritual energy could not detect the exact strength of the concept fragments in the wooden men's bodies, he was still able to do so. However, it was not difficult for him to guess that these wooden figures were much stronger than the human-shaped statues and beast-shaped statues on the first floor of Qing Feng Palace. If that was not the case, there would be no need for them to be divided into the first and second floors. The wood that made them. It's not simple. Soon after, Duan Lingtian extended his spiritual energy and discovered the density of the wood that formed the wooden figures was much higher than ordinary stones. So that's how it is. Although these guys are made of wood, their bodies are much stronger than the statues on the first floor of Qing Feng Palace. Once they attack, their movements will be more agile. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath. He did not dare to underestimate these wooden figures anymore. Right? Qing Feng Emperor Wu once said that only the first person to clear the 9-9 wooden person stage would be able to obtain the copper key and ascend to the third level of Qing Feng Palace. With a flash of inspiration, Duan Lingtian recalled the content of the message left behind by Qing Feng Emperor Wu. His expression abruptly changed. Damn it, I actually forgot about this. Thinking that he had wasted so much time, Duan Lingtian suddenly became anxious. Why was he attracted by those wooden figures at such a crucial moment? Furthermore, he had even used his spiritual energy to investigate the background of those wooden figures. It was simply superfluous and did not distinguish between the importance of the matter and the importance of the matter. To the current him, the most important thing was to pass the 99 wood puppet stage, obtain the copper key and ascend to the third floor of Qingfeng Palace. Whirlwind. Duanling Tian no longer dared to hesitate. His body flew out and seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind as he charged to the other end of the long corridor. Just as Duanling Tian seemed to have transformed into a bolt of purple lightning and shuttled through the long corridor, he was about 10 meters away from the 3 wooden figures standing at the front. Crack, crack, crack. The 3 wooden figures' stiff bodies suddenly trembled and produced a series of crisp sounds. It was as though they had been completely activated at this moment. Duanling Tian was not surprised by this. When he approached the wooden figures, his sharp spiritual energy had already discovered that he had unintentionally activated another inscription formation. Moreover, he had activated the inscription formation that activated all the wooden figures in the long corridor. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 3 wooden figures that were closest to Duanling Tian made their moves almost at the same time. They charged at Duanling Tian aggressively. The origin energy on their bodies skyrocketed and merged with their concepts. The moment they made their moves, they unleashed a powerful force that enveloped Duanling Tian mercilessly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the same time, 500 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons appeared above each of the 3 wooden figures. Subsequently, they charged at Duanling Tian with bared fangs and brandished claws. Even a first-level void transformation martial artist who had comprehended the first-level void transformation concept would only have the strength of 400 ancient horned dragons if he unleashed his full strength without using a spirit weapon. The 3 wooden figures that possessed the strength of 500 ancient horned dragons made their moves. Their strength tore through the sky and caused the air to tremble before it set off a series of ear-piercing air explosions. As the air explosions exploded, a series of airwaves swept out and transformed into a violent wind that blew Duanling Tian's purple robe and caused it to flutter loudly. Faced with the attack of the 3 wooden figures, Duanling Tian's expression remained unchanged. He did not even look at them. Destroy. A cold voice came out of Duanling Tian's mouth. Nobody knew when, but a 3-foot-long blade that was completely condensed from khaki energy appeared in his slightly raised hand. He suddenly shook it. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The moment Duanling Tian's words left his mouth, a series of swift sword whistles that sounded like a storm resonated one after another. They rose and fell one after another without stopping. Whoosh. When the sword whistles disappeared, Duanling Tian's other hand swept across the sky and easily grabbed the dozens of mid-grade origin stones and 3 concept fragments that appeared out of thin air. Subsequently, Duanling Tian continued to charge towards the next wave of wooden figures. As soon as Duanling Tian charged out, the 3 wooden figures that were originally charging towards him in a menacing manner exploded in the air and transformed into pieces of wood that fell down like rain. Smack, 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 smack. As soon as the hundreds and thousands of pieces of wood that the 3 wooden figures transformed into fell to the ground, another rain of wood began to fall not far away. It did not stop for a long time. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The swift purple figure disappeared on the spot and appeared in the depths of the long corridor in the next moment. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Every time he appeared, there would be a series of ear-piercing sword whistling sounds. Immediately after, a rain of wood would fall from the sky. Everywhere he passed, the long corridor was covered with countless pieces of wood. I've already killed 78 of them. 3 more to go. 99 wooden stages, 9981. So that's how it is. As soon as he came to a realization, Duanling Tian's eyes flashed as he charged towards the last 3 wooden figures that were charging towards him. Once again he transformed into an extremely swift purple lightning. The 3 wooden figures with 800 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons above each of their heads exploded with the power of origin energy and concept on their bodies. Their thunderous attacks blasted towards Duanling Tian in unison. Just in time. This time, Duanling Tian did not use the 3-foot-long sword that was condensed from the khaki energy to deal with them. Instead, he used the most direct method. He punched out with both of his fists. Whoosh, whoosh. Duanling Tian punched out with both of his fists at full force. 2 waves of khaki energy that was intertwined with purple lightning and green wind swept out. On top of that, it also emitted waves of sharp aura that belonged to the sword concept. Boom. A loud explosion resounded in the narrow long corridor, and a series of obvious echoes reverberated in the air. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous one wins. At the same time, the energy that gushed out of Duan Lingtian's fists swept out without any reservation. It carried an overwhelming force as it annihilated the three wooden figures' attacks easily. Wherever the energy passed, the three wooden figures' attacks were completely crushed. Even the three wooden figures were blasted into dust and completely disappeared from this world. Boom, 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 boom. When the last three wooden figures were blasted into dust, a series of thunderous explosions resonated in the air, causing the entire second floor of Qingfeng Palace to tremble. It was as though the ground was shaking. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The airwaves that rolled out in all directions set off gusts of strong wind. The broken wood in the long corridor was lifted up, and a long rain of wood began to fall again. At the end of the long corridor, a purple figure stood there. The purple robe on his body fluttered in the wind. It was a purple-clad young man with a cold gaze. He stood there like an invincible god of war. Copper key. Duan Lingtian's gaze immediately fell on a stone platform outside the long corridor. The stone platform stood there alone, and it faintly revealed a sense of desolation. On the stone platform there was a copper key lying there all by itself. The copper key was crescent-shaped. It was unknown what material it was made of, but it was completely different from an ordinary key. The long years did not seem to have left any traces on it. The third floor. I have to go up from here? At the same time, Duan Lingtian looked at the top of the high platform. The ceiling there was exactly the same as the one he saw in the four-way stone room on the first floor of Qingfeng Palace. The surroundings were not sealed and it was obvious that it could be moved. It hasn't opened yet? Don't tell me the ceiling will only open the way to the third floor of Qingfeng Palace if I take the copper key away? Duan Lingtian's heart jolted. He no longer hesitated and flew out like a goshawk before landing steadily on the stone platform. Duan Lingtian casually lifted his hand and grabbed the copper key. It hasn't opened yet? At the same time, Duan Lingtian shook his head and looked at the ceiling. However, he noticed that the ceiling did not move at all. Instead, the stone platform beneath his feet began to tremble. What's this? At the same time, Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed as he looked at the stone platform beneath his feet with a dumbfounded expression. At this moment, he noticed that an inscription formation had been activated on the stone platform beneath his feet. Not only that, but the inscription formation also released a strange energy that swept towards the long corridor that he came from. Whoosh. At the same time, Duan Lingtian felt the ground beneath his feet become empty. The stone platform flew out from the ground and rushed into the long corridor that he came from as soon as it left his feet. This is... Chapter 993. The stone platform was not big. In just a blink of an eye, it was surrounded by thousands and thousands of wood shards. The wood shards kept rolling around before they finally transformed into a human shape and formed a brand new giant wooden man. What kind of inscription formation is that? Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed when he saw this. He was shocked. He could clearly sense it when he extended his spiritual energy earlier. As the inscription formation on the stone platform released a strange energy, the thousands and thousands of wood shards that were piled up on the long corridor began to move restlessly. When the stone platform flew closer, the wood shards seemed to be summoned by something as they rushed toward the stone platform and formed a giant wooden man. This wooden man was formed by thousands and thousands of wood shards. Its entire body was uneven, but it could not hide the majestic aura that was emitted from its body. There's no origin stone in the stone platform. There's only a concept fragment. The wood shards came from the previous wooden men. They were tainted with origin energy from the mid-grade origin stones that were originally in the wooden men's bodies. But now, the sparse and extremely weak origin energy in these pieces of wood seems to be drawn into the stone platform by something. It's that inscription formation again. Duan Lingtian, who was puzzled, was shocked when he discovered something. The inscription formation on the strange stone platform actually emitted an extremely terrifying suction force that absorbed the traces of origin energy on the thousands upon thousands of pieces of wood. In just a short moment, the origin energy on the wood shards was completely absorbed by the stone platform. It seemed to have become the giant wooden man's heart as it continued to grow stronger. Boom. Duan Lingtian's spiritual energy that he extended out suddenly discovered the origin energy that was being absorbed by the stone platform. It trembled before it completely exploded. In just an instant, a milky white flame surged out of the giant wooden man that was formed by thousands and thousands of wood shards. It was as though it could burn everything. In the air, the heaven and earth energy stirred as the heaven and earth phenomenon formed. 400 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons clearly appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes. To mobilize the heaven and earth energy and form such a heaven and earth phenomenon with just his origin energy, it's equivalent to the strength of a third-level void transformation martial artist using just his origin energy. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian's pupils shrank slightly. As far as he knew, if it was only mid-grade origin stones, then no matter how many there were, the inscription formation formed from them would at most be able to mobilize the origin energy of a martial artist at the 7th level of the void interpretation stage. It was equivalent to the strength of 100 ancient horned dragons. Yet now, the giant wooden figure that did not have any origin stones in its body was able to exert origin energy that was comparable to a third-level void transformation stage martial artist. This caused Duan Lingtian to feel astonished from the bottom of his heart. In his opinion, this was completely illogical. The origin energy in the giant wooden man's body came from the broken pieces of wood. The origin energy accumulated in the broken pieces of wood came from mid-grade origin stones. Logically speaking, even if all of the origin energy in the broken wood were diffused together, it would still be impossible to display such a powerful strength. After all, the origin energy came from mid-grade origin stones. Mid-grade origin stones have a huge restriction. Logically speaking, it would be impossible for them to display such a powerful strength through an inscription formation. Duan Lingtian could not figure this out no matter how hard he thought about it. In the end, he could only attribute this to one reason. It seems like it can only be because of the inscription formation in the strange stone platform. That mysterious and strange inscription formation is not even in the memory of the reincarnation Emperor Wu. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath when he thought of this. Although the reincarnation Emperor Wu did not have any records of the inscription formation in his memory, he could find out about it from the reincarnation Emperor Wu's understanding of the inscription Dao. The inscription formation in the strange stone platform was extremely powerful. To be able to combine the weak origin energy in thousands of broken pieces of wood and accumulate it into such a powerful origin energy, that inscription formation is simply heaven-defying. There was a hint of dread in Duan Lingtian's eyes. Although he did not understand the inscription formation at the moment, he had an extremely crazy idea based on the theory of the inscription formation that was currently displayed. If such an inscription formation can be used on a human martial artist, let a human martial artist master the inscription formation and absorb the origin energy of other human martial artists and accumulate the origin energy of all human martial artists. Then, after the origin energy of all human martial artists has been greatly enhanced, it can be unleashed. How terrifying would that be? Duan Lingtian felt a chill run down his spine when he thought of this. His scalp went numb. If this idea could really be realized according to his idea, it would definitely cause a stir in the entire Cloud Continent. At that time, the iron law that no matter how many people there were on Cloud Continent, it would be impossible for the weak to defeat the strong would be completely broken. For example, if the origin energy of 100 first-level void transformation stage martial artists could be gathered together through an inscription formation like this, and the accumulated origin energy would be raised to the limit to the 7th-level void transformation stage. A 4th-level void transformation stage martial artist who could normally easily kill 100 first-level void transformation stage martial artists would be instantly killed by the 100 first-level void transformation stage martial artists who were raised through the inscription formation in just a blink of an eye. If this inscription formation can really be realized on a human martial artist, I only need to gather 109th-level void transformation stage martial artists and accumulate their origin energy. Through this inscription formation, I'll definitely be able to raise the accumulated origin energy to the martial monarch stage. At that time, it's not impossible for 109th level void transformation stage martial artists to kill a martial monarch powerhouse. Such a crazy idea rose in Duan Lingtian's mind, and his mood swayed along with it. In fact, based on the current situation, although 109th level void transformation stage martial artists gathered together sounded terrifying, the deterrent force was far inferior to a first-level martial monarch stage powerhouse. Once a first-level martial monarch stage powerhouse was faced with 109th level void transformation stage martial artists, he could choose to defeat them one by one and kill all of the 9th level void transformation stage martial artists. However, if he could use the inscription formation in the strange stone platform on one of the 9th level void transformation stage martial artists, he would be able to gather the origin energies of the other 99 9th level void transformation stage martial artists, accumulate and raise their strength. At that time, It might not be a dream for his origin energy to be raised to the 3rd level martial monarch stage or even the 4th level martial monarch stage. Such strength was enough to kill a 1st level martial monarch stage powerhouse. There's strength in numbers. This was undoubtedly an iron law on Earth in my previous life. Even when I was at my peak in my previous life, the strongest weapons specialist on Earth, I would definitely die if they threw kitchen knives at me at the same time. When he was at his peak in his previous life, although he was known as the strongest weapons specialist on Earth, it was impossible for him to block 100 kitchen knives that were flying at him from all directions. However, on Cloud Continent, there's strength in numbers, but it's only limited to martial artists with similar strength. It's undoubtedly a big joke to want to defeat someone stronger as the weak. For example, a 1st level martial monarch stage powerhouse would be fearless even if he were to face 10,000 ordinary void transformation stage martial artists. Even if he were to fight head-on, it would only be the 10,000 ordinary void transformation stage martial artists who would die and not the 1st level martial monarch stage powerhouse. When he thought of this, Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart. In terms of cultivation base, the martial artists on Cloud Continent would experience a huge leap every time they advanced to a new level. Wanting to rely on numbers to defeat someone stronger as the weak was more difficult than ascending to the heavens. However, if this inscription formation can be used on human martial artists, it's not impossible for 10,000 ordinary void transformation stage martial artists to join forces to kill a martial monarch powerhouse. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed as flames of desire and desire rose within them. Whoosh! Suddenly, a swift and ear-piercing sound of wind whistling came and instantly woke Duan Lingtian up. By the time Duan Lingtian reacted, a gigantic fist had already arrived before his eyes. It was just inches away. This made it impossible for him to defend with all his strength. He could only mobilize as much strength as he could to defend himself. Boom. The result was self-evident. Although Duan Lingtian, who was unprepared, managed to mobilize the strength of several hundred ancient horned dragons in a hurry, he was still crushed by the strength contained in the gigantic fist. After the terrifying strength suppressed Duan Lingtian's strength, it landed on Duan Lingtian's body like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. It mercilessly sent Duan Lingtian flying. Barf. Duan Lingtian, who was sent flying, felt his internal organs tremble. There was a sweet taste in his throat, and he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His face turned extremely pale. At the same time, his body flew out uncontrollably like an arrow. It was only after he mobilized his origin energy with great difficulty that he managed to slow down the speed of his flying. Boom. Even so, he still crashed into the wall on the 2nd floor of Qingfeng Palace. His internal organs trembled violently again from the impact, and the blood in his body kept churning. Barf barf. Duan Lingtian spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood again. The origin energy in his body was agitated and somewhat out of control. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, the sound of air exploding due to the compression of the air flow entered Duan Lingtian's ears. Along with it, there were gusts of wild wind that swept across the ground in all directions. Whoosh! At the same time, another ear-piercing sound of wind whistling was heard. It swept towards Duan Lingtian as though it would not stop until it killed Duan Lingtian. The gigantic fist appeared again. It was the gigantic wooden figure that attacked Duan Lingtian mercilessly. Bang! At the same time, Duan Lingtian's face changed. The quasi-royal grade spiritual sword appeared in his hand out of thin air. He slammed the body of the sword against the wall behind him, and the strength that he mobilized in a hurry swept out. In an instant, Duan Lingtian was pushed back by the rebounding force, and he barely dodged the gigantic wooden figure's punch. Boom! Chapter 994. At this moment, the sturdiness of Qingfeng Palace's walls was apparent. The giant wooden figure's punch that contained the strength of thousands of ancient horned dragons smashed on the wall forcefully. Not only did it not penetrate the wall, but it did not even leave a fist mark on the wall. It was obvious that the walls of Qingfeng Palace were made of a special material and were extremely sturdy. 7th level advanced wind concept? Duan Lingtian, who dodged the giant wooden figure's punch with the rebounding force, could only feel fear in his heart. When he looked at the heaven and earth phenomenon above the giant wooden figure's head, his eyes could not help but focus. 1,200 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons. The giant wooden figure had the strength of 400 ancient horned dragons when its origin energy was fully unleashed. Right now, it had merged its wind concept into its origin energy and transformed it into a gust of green wind that twined around its body. It displayed the strength of 1,200 ancient horned dragons. In other words, its wind concept was equivalent to the strength of 800 ancient horned dragons. It was the 7th level advanced wind concept. Duan Lingtian took out a life recovery pill that he refined himself and consumed it. The high-purity life recovery pill allowed his injuries to recover by more than half in just a blink of an eye. Although there were still some injuries in his body, Duan Lingtian did not feel any pressure when he used his full strength to crush the giant wooden figure. 9 Dragons Radiant Flash. Facing the giant wooden figure that was charging at him again, Duan Lingtian had a cold sneer at the corner of his mouth. The quasi-royal grade spirit sword in his hand trembled and suddenly charged out. In an instant, the 3 divine dragons that were formed from the origin energy that had fused 4 types of concepts whizzed out. 3 pairs of eyes flashed as 6 beams of extreme light shot out and left 6 holes on the gigantic wooden figure. Whoosh. However, the giant wooden figure was not a real human after all. After being pierced by Duan Lingtian, it was still so fierce and continued to charge at Duan Lingtian. I almost forgot. It's just a wooden figure. It doesn't have any vital points at all. Duan Lingtian, who mistook the wooden figure for a human martial artist, could not help but smile wryly. He no longer used the 9 Dragons Radiant Flash. Instead, he charged at the giant wooden figure in a flash. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Waves of sword howls that sounded like a storm resounded out of nowhere. It was the quasi-royal grade spirit sword in Duan Lingtian's hand that shot out at lightning speed. In just a blink of an eye, the gigantic wooden figure was broken into countless pieces of wood and separated again. For a time, only the strange little stone platform was left floating in the void. Whoosh. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's spiritual energy that had been vigilant all this while trembled slightly. He immediately noticed that the inscription formation in the strange stone platform had a strange movement again. It was trying to pull the broken wood on the ground again. It was obvious that it wanted to reassemble into a new giant wooden man and attack him again. Duan Lingtian, who had learned his lesson, naturally would not allow it to succeed. With a raise of his hand, a vast energy shrouded the stone tablet as it ruthlessly landed on it. Bang! A loud bang reverberated in the air, and the stone tablet trembled. Although it wasn't destroyed, the energy from the inscription formation on it slowed down slightly. Seizing this opportunity, Duan Lingtian quickly put the stone platform into his spatial ring. After the stone platform was put into the spatial ring, the broken wood that had just risen from the ground fell back to the ground. At once, the scene returned to its original calm state. I'll put the stone platform away first. I'll study it when I have the time. At the same time, Duan Lingtian was secretly making plans. If the inscription formation can really be used on human martial artists and achieve the effect of winning with numbers and defeating the strong with the weak, perhaps I can consider establishing a force. Duan Lingtian thought in his heart. As he thought about it, his eyes gleamed brightly. There was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. At this moment, Duan Lingtian seemed to envision himself leading tens of thousands of void transformation stage martial artists everywhere. Even a martial monarch powerhouse would have to retreat. Just the thought of such a scene made his blood boil. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Not long after Duan Lingtian put away the strange stone platform, a series of loud noises resonated and entered his ears clearly. At the same time, the ceiling above his head opened, and the path to the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace appeared before his eyes. There's still no movement in the other 2 long corridors. It seems like the 2 of them can't make it here. Duan Lingtian rose into the air. When he left the 2nd level of Qingfeng Palace, he purposely glanced at the other 2 long corridors other than the one he came from. It was quiet there and he could not hear any movement at all. It was apparent that the 2 young powerhouses did not have the ability to make it through the long corridors filled with wooden figures. To think that I was worried that someone would beat me to it and obtain this copper key and the opportunity to go to the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace. It seems like I was overthinking. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself as he looked at the crescent-shaped copper key in his hand. His tone was filled with emotion. A moment later, he left the 2nd level of Qingfeng Palace and appeared on the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace. Rumble, rumble, rumble. When Duan Lingtian arrived at the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace, the ceiling of the 2nd level of Qingfeng Palace closed again with a loud noise as though it was preventing someone from coming up again. Young man, congratulations on coming to the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace. Once you pass the test on the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace, you'll obtain a silver key. When Duan Lingtian realized that he had activated the polyphony formation again, Qingfeng Emperor Wu's voice entered his ears in a timely manner. Silver key. Upon hearing Qingfeng Emperor Wu's words, the corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched. First it's the copper key and now it's the silver key. I wonder if there's a gold key? However, Duan Lingtian also knew that he had no choice but to follow Qingfeng Emperor Wu's instructions. Unless he did not want to obtain the 3 profundity fragments in Qingfeng Emperor Wu's body. While Duan Lingtian was making his way up level by level in Qingfeng Palace, the situation of the other people in Qingfeng Palace was similar. Naturally, most of them were eliminated on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace. The test on the 3rd level was undoubtedly much more difficult than the test on the 2nd level. In addition to having to pass a specific test, one would have to risk one's life to fight in the end. Only the person who remained would obtain the silver key and successfully advance to the next level. In a spacious hall on the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace, 3 figures stood facing each other in a corner. The smell of gunpowder was extremely strong, as though they were ready to attack each other at any time. Among the 3 of them, there was a young woman with a beautiful appearance. The young woman in red had a face that could topple a country. She stood there like a delicate fire elf, attracting everyone's attention. Kill? Suddenly one of the young men shouted. The origin energy on his body skyrocketed, and his concept followed like a shadow as it merged with the spirit weapon in his hand. He immediately pounced toward the red-clad woman and released the energy from the spirit weapon in his hand. In his opinion, including him, the red-clad woman who looked like she was in her early 20s was definitely the weakest among the 3 people present. She was the easiest target. In order to fight the last person without holding back, he decided to eliminate the red-clad woman first. The woman's appearance made him drool, but he was not in the mood to do so. I'm determined to get the silver key. The young man's eyes shone brightly, and his face was filled with confidence. At the same time, the heaven and earth energy stirred above his head and condensed into a heaven and earth phenomenon. A total of about 1,000 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons were formed. Whoosh! The other young man seemed to have discussed it with the former. When the former pounced toward the red-clad woman, he pounced as well. About 1,000 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons also appeared above his head and pounced toward the red-clad woman aggressively. Whoosh! Faced with the 2 people's attacks, the woman stood still on the spot. Her red dress fluttered. In this windless environment, the woman's red dress fluttered loudly due to the airwaves and strong wind caused by the air explosion caused by the 2 young men's attacks. Die. The 2 young men were from Izumo sect and North Nether sect respectively. The Izumo sect's disciple who attacked later looked at the red-clad woman with extreme ferocity and ruthlessness. Among the people from Izumo sect who entered Emperor Wu's secret treasure, only he and another person were left before they entered Qingfeng Palace. The 2 most outstanding young powerhouses in Izumo sect were killed by the same person. The murderer was none other than Duan Lingtian. A young powerhouse from a small third-rate force caused fear to rise from the bottom of his heart. Before the red-clad woman in front of him entered Qingfeng Palace, he had already discovered that she had a close relationship with Duan Lingtian. This was one of the reasons why he attacked her. The red-clad woman was none other than Feng Qianwu. Ever since Feng Qianwu separated from Duan Lingtian, she had gone all the way from the 1st level to the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace and passed the test. After passing the test, Emperor Wu's message clearly entered her ears. At this time she found out that the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace required 2 people to sacrifice their lives in order to open the entrance to the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace. Faced with the attacks from the left and right, Feng Qianwu remained calm. Her expression would not change even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of her. Feng Qianwu still did not make any move until the 2 of them were close to her. Boom! However, a monstrous flame rose from Feng Qianwu's body. It caused the heaven and earth energy in the air to stir before it finally gathered to form a clear heaven and earth phenomenon. 1,000 ancient horned dragons' silhouettes meandered down. They were lifelike. S9th level advanced fire concept. Chapter 995. Whether it was the North Nether sect's disciple or the Izumo sect's disciple, both of them saw the scene clearly. The red-clad lady whom they regarded as a pushover did not use any origin energy at all from the beginning until the end. Without using any origin energy, just by communicating and mobilizing the fire concept, she was able to mobilize the heaven and earth energy to form 1,000 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons. In other words, the moment Feng Qianwu cast her fire concept, it was equivalent to the strength of 1,000 ancient horned dragons. The fire concept that was equivalent to the strength of 1,000 ancient horned dragons was none other than 9th level advanced fire concept. Whoosh, whoosh. After discovering the level of the fire concept that Feng Qianwu had comprehended, horror dawned on both the North Nether sect's and Izumo sect's disciples' faces. The two of them slowed down when they were flying towards Feng Tianwu. They looked at each other tacitly and could see the indescribable fear in each other's eyes for a moment. Run. In the next instant, both of them came to a halt near Feng Qianwu and hurriedly turned around, preparing to flee. In their opinion, since Feng Qianwu had comprehended the 9th level advanced fire concept, her cultivation base must not be too weak. 9th level void transformation concept. Even the most powerful person among the younger generation in Izumo sect and North Nether sect had never comprehended such a high level of void transformation concept. For this reason, in their eyes, Feng Qianwu was even more terrifying than the most powerful person among the younger generation in their sect. Just as both of them were about to turn around and flee, Feng Qianwu made her move. The long red whip flew out like a venomous snake that had transformed into a red lightning bolt and bit both of them. Whoosh! The long whip pierced through the air and set off a swift whistling sound. The ear-piercing whistling sound entered the Izumo sect's and North Nether sect's disciples' eyes clearly. It caused both of them to tremble. Horror dawned on them as they hurriedly fled. Unfortunately, they were still too slow. Whoosh! Whoosh! The long whip that was as swift as a red venomous snake pierced through the bodies of the North Nether sect's and Izumo sect's disciples. In just a blink of an eye they were killed one by one. Before they could even increase their speed to flee, they were killed by Feng Qianwu's long whip in just a blink of an eye. Boom! Boom! As the two bodies fell to the ground, the long whip that was dancing like a red spirit snake in Feng Qianwu's hand disappeared out of thin air. At the same time, the flame that was raging on top of her body was extinguished. The 1,100 ancient horned dragons' silhouettes above her head also gradually disappeared without a trace. If the North Nether sect's disciple and Izumo sect's disciple on the Yellow Springs Road saw this scene, they would definitely regret their decision to flee in the face of Feng Tianwu. Why Feng, Nether sect's disciples you, Nether sects, Nether. The reason they fled was because they thought Feng Qianwu's cultivation base had also broken through to the void transformation stage when she comprehended the 9th level advanced fire concept. If they knew earlier that Feng Tianwu was only a 4th level void interpretation martial artist, they would absolutely not be frightened to the point of fleeing in panic by Feng Tianwu's 9th level advanced fire concept. Although Feng Qianwu, who possessed the strength of 1,100 ancient horned dragons, was still stronger than them, they were still willing to fight it out with her. This was because the gap between them and Feng Qianwu was not that big. They could see hope. The reason they chose to flee was because they thought there was no hope at all. Looks like my fire concept is still capable of scaring others. Feng Qianwu glanced at the two bodies lying on the ground and muttered to herself. Her beautiful face was expressionless and no emotions could be seen. If these two people fought with her, she would have to spend a lot of effort even if she could kill them in the end. However, when they saw her mobilizing the 9th level advanced fire concept, they did not have any intention to fight at all. They only cared about fleeing in a wretched manner, allowing her to chase after them and kill them easily. It could be said that the reason the two of them died so quickly was entirely because of their cowardice. Soon after, Feng Qianwu seemed to have noticed something and exclaimed softly. In the next moment she saw it. The blood that continued to flow out of the two corpses on the ground like a small stream seemed to have activated something, causing waves of inscription formation aura to rise out of thin air in the surroundings. Blood sacrifice. When she recalled the message from Qingfeng Emperor Wu, Feng Qianwu did not have to guess to know what had happened. Rumble. 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 Subsequently, loud noises resonated in Feng Qianwu's ears again. The sound came from above her head. At that moment, Feng Qianwu's attention was attracted. She lifted her head slightly and saw the ceiling above her head gradually moving and opening up a path to the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace to welcome her. Where's the silver key? Feng Qianwu did not get carried away by the pleasant surprise before her eyes. Her thoughts quickly shifted to the reward that Qingfeng Emperor Wu left on the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace. According to Qingfeng Emperor Wu, the reward for the 3rd level was the silver key. She had no idea what the silver key was used for. Of course, although she did not know what the silver key was used for, she could faintly guess its significance. Otherwise, it would not have been placed on the third level of Qingfeng Palace by Qingfeng Emperor Wu as a reward for passing the test. However, now that the door to the fourth level of Qingfeng Palace had opened, the silver key reward for the third level of Qingfeng Palace had yet to appear. She could not help but feel anxious. Rumble. At that moment, another soft sound resonated in Feng Tianwu's ears again. Subsequently, she saw a green brick on the ground not far away. After being illuminated by the light from the fourth level of Qingfeng Palace, it suddenly trembled violently and rose slowly. Whoosh! Feng Tianwu lifted her hand and took the green brick. A quaint little box appeared before her eyes. Feng Tianwu picked up the small box and directly opened it. The thing within the small box was reflected in her eyes, causing her eyes to brighten, and a thick smile appeared on her face. Inside the box that she opened, there was a crescent-shaped key lying quietly. It looks exactly the same except for the color. At the same time, Feng Tianwu took out another crescent-shaped key. This key was copper in color and was in stark contrast to the silver key in the box. The fourth level. After obtaining the silver key, Feng Tianwu did not linger on the third level of Qingfeng Palace. She leaped into the air and landed steadily on the fourth level of Qingfeng Palace. When Feng Tianwu reached the fourth level of Qingfeng Palace, many people passed the third level's test and opened the door to the fourth level just like her. This is the silver key? It looks exactly the same as the copper key. Peng Bao's eyes lit up as he looked at the silver crescent-shaped key in his hand. Peng Bao was not the only one. Many people had obtained their own silver key and successfully reached the fourth level of Qingfeng Palace. Each of them was in a different place. However, as they went up, the distance between them became shorter and shorter. On the first level of Qingfeng Palace, 4 people would advance to 1 person. Only 1 person could reach the second level of Qingfeng Palace. On the second level of Qingfeng Palace, 3 people would advance to 1 person. On the third level of Qingfeng Palace, 3 people would advance to 1 person. Therefore, among the group of people who entered Qingfeng Palace, only 1 out of 8 people could successfully reach the 4th level. The 7 people who reached the 4th level were eliminated one after another. What's on the 4th level? After Duan Lingtian obtained the silver key, he left the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace where 2 bodies were lying and successfully reached the 4th level. He still felt strange when he recalled his experience on the 3rd level. This was because the test he went through on the 3rd level of Qingfeng Palace was much easier than the test he went through on the 2nd level. The strongest puppet he encountered on the 3rd level was only comparable to the strength of 1,000 ancient horned dragons when it unleashed its full strength. It was much weaker than the giant wooden puppet he encountered on the 2nd level of Qingfeng Palace. Perhaps the 3rd level's test is easier than the 2nd level because I still have to kill the other 2 young powerhouses and use their lives as a blood sacrifice to open the door to the 4th level. The more Duan Lingtian thought about it, the more certain he became. Congratulations, young man. As long as you can pass the test on the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace, you'll be able to obtain the golden key and another reward. Qingfeng Emperor Wu's voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears through the polyphony formation again. As expected, there's a golden key. If I can obtain it, it means I'll have the gold, silver and bronze keys. Could it be that these 3 keys can be used to open something? As Duan Lingtian muttered to himself, he could not help but speculate. Soon after, the test on the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace began. The test on this level was no longer to deal with statues, wooden puppets or puppets. Instead, it was to fight with the endless nature energy in the long corridor. The force of nature also included wind, fire, water, lightning, and earth. At this moment, the energy swept out through the offensive type inscription formation and blocked Duan Lingtian's footsteps. It did not allow him to pass through easily. Boom, 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 boom. Duan Lingtian charged forward violently. The origin energy on his body skyrocketed, and the 4 types of concepts followed him like shadows. His hands did not stop moving from the beginning until the end. His fists and palms swept out and repelled the nature energy that seemed to have transformed into a flood of beasts. The strongest of these force of nature was only extended out from the 9th level concept fragments in the inscription formation, and it contained the strength of 1,000 ancient horned dragons. Originally, this kind of energy was nothing to Duan Lingtian. Chapter 996. The test on the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace is called the Bumpy Road. Only the person who passes through the bumpy road first will have a chance to obtain the golden key. As long as the person passes through the bumpy road, Even if they don't obtain the golden key, they'll still have a chance to obtain the other reward I left behind. These were the original words left behind by Qingfeng Emperor Wu in the Polyphony formation. For this reason, what Duan Lingtian had to do now was to pass through the bumpy road as soon as possible and arrive at the other end to obtain the golden key and obtain the other reward. According to Qingfeng Emperor Wu's message, there will be people competing with me this time, just like when I was on the first, second, and third levels of Qingfeng Palace. The moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, his hands began to move even faster as he moved at lightning speed. His fists and palms contained his entire body's strength as they swept out and opened up a path in front of him. He swept away all the obstacles without holding back. When Duan Lingtian made his move, other than triggering a series of ear-piercing wind-whistling sound, it was also accompanied by a series of deafening thunderclaps. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of air explosions continued to rise and fall, setting off a series of airwaves that swept out in all directions, triggering gusts of wind that swept out in all directions. The wind rose and the punch was thrown out. Boom. Duan Lingtian's punch was like a landslide. Although the turbulent waves that were charging at him contained the strength of 1,000 ancient horned dragons, they were still pushed back by his punch, causing a series of loud noises to ring out. The turbulent waves, which were the water energy transformed from the water concept through the inscription formation, were pushed back by Duan Lingtian's punch. At the same time, his entire body moved and flew out rapidly. Whirlwind. Moments later, Duan Lingtian passed through the turbulent waves and continued to fly to the other end of the long corridor. Whoosh. This time he was met with a raging and soaring flame. When the flame shrouded Duan Lingtian, it was like a giant flame beast that opened its bloody mouth and wanted to swallow Duan Lingtian into its stomach. In the face of the flame that covered the sky and covered the earth, Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold. He threw out another punch and temporarily suppressed the flame that covered the sky so it would not be able to reignite in a short period of time. Whoosh. The purple figure that was as fast as lightning charged forward again and faced with the earth energy that was rolling towards him. When the earth energy shrouded Duan Lingtian, it seemed to have merged perfectly with the earth. There was no longer any distinction between him and the earth. Not. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's sharp spiritual energy immediately noticed this subtle change. Horror dawned on his face immediately. Not only can the 9th level earth concept fragments within the inscription formation condense the energy of the earth, they can even communicate with the earth and rely on the energy of the earth. While he was shocked, Duan Lingtian could clearly see the earth energy that was surging towards him. When the earth energy shrouded him, the heaven and earth energy in the air stirred and gathered to form the heaven and earth phenomenon. A total of 1,500 ancient horned dragon strength appeared in a menacing manner. It was as though it wanted to completely crush him. Upon seeing this, Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold. A quasi-royal great spirit sword appeared in his hand out of thin air. He swung it out and welcomed the attack. Whoosh. Wherever the short-lived sword ray passed, the earth energy was split into half. Duan Lingtian seized this opportunity to fly out and pass through the earth energy. Whirlwind. Duan Lingtian continued on his way. When he encountered the earth energy, he would use the quasi-royal great spirit sword in his hand to open a path. As for other times, it was more straightforward to use his fists and palms. After all, not all nature energy was like the earth energy. As long as he slashed it into half, he could easily open a path. For example, water and fire would split apart wherever the sword ray passed. However, the gap between the cracks could not allow Duan Lingtian to pass through. This was because no matter if it was water or fire, they would merge together again in an instant when they were slashed apart by the sword ray. On the other hand, slashing apart the earth energy was like slashing apart a thick and heavy rock. With a single slash of the sword, it would split into half and open a path. Boom, 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 boom. Duan Lingtian charged all the way to the other end of the long corridor. Everywhere he passed, his fist and palm prints filled the air. At the same time, it set off a series of thunderous explosions. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. When he encountered the earth energy, Duan Lingtian immediately used his quasi-royal great spiritual sword to open a path. Wherever the sword ray pointed, the earth energy would be split into half. Just a little more. Duan Lingtian, who was charging all the way, could clearly see the end of the long corridor. As long as he arrived there, he would be considered to have passed the bumpy road and passed the test of the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace. He would then be able to obtain the golden key. With my current speed, the people who are competing with me should not be as good as me. Duan Tian was confident in his strength. Finally, with his powerful strength, Duan Tian successfully passed the bumpy road and passed the test of the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace. He appeared at the end of the long corridor. Whoosh! After Duan Tian passed through the long corridor, he came to a halt. His purple robe fluttered in the wind, making him look elegant. Almost at the same time when Duan Tian came to a halt, 2 swift whistling sounds resonated in the air. 2 figures stood in the distance and revealed themselves. Huh! Duan Tian was surprised that someone could appear at the same time as him. He could not help but stare at them. With just a glance he recognized both of them. Su Qing and Zui Yu. Both of them were young powerhouses from second-rate forces in the northern desert. Su Qing, the strongest person among the younger generation in North Nether sect. Zui Yu, the strongest person among the younger generation in Anika sect. Duan Tian's eyes gleamed when he recognized both of them. I didn't expect to meet them here. I thought I'd have to go to the 5th level to meet them. Whether it was Su Qing or Zui Yu, they might not be as good as him if they did not use their spirit weapons. However, once they used their spirit weapons, whether it was Su Qing or Zui Yu, their strength would be stronger than him. If there were no accidents, their strength would exceed his by more than 20 ancient horned dragons. Su Qing and Zui Yu were as famous as Lei Zhong, the Izumo sect's disciple whom he had killed, among the young powerhouses in the northern desert. Their strength should be about the same as Lei Zhong. A 4th level void transformation martial artist who had comprehended the 4th level void transformation concept. Without the use of a spirit weapon, he could exert the strength of 1,100 ancient horned dragons. Once he used a grade 1 spirit weapon, he would be able to increase his strength by 87% or 88% based on his origin energy at the 4th level void transformation martial artist strength. It was equivalent to the strength of more than 520 ancient horned dragons. In total, it would be the strength of more than 1,620 ancient horned dragons. Duan Tian. When Duan Tian recognized Su Qing and Zui Yu, Su Qing and Zui Yu also saw Duan Tian. Their faces were filled with surprise. They did not expect to meet Duan Tian here. When they looked at Duan Tian, there was a hint of dread in their eyes. They had seen Duan Tian's strength before. He had killed Lei Zhong, who was as famous as them in the northern desert and whose strength was on par with theirs. At this moment, they were unsure if Duan Tian had held back when he activated the heaven and earth energy and displayed the heaven and earth phenomenon in front of them after using the spirit weapon. If he had held back, Duan Tian's strength would surpass theirs. If he had not held back, Duan Tian's strength would be inferior to theirs. Duan Tian was not surprised when he saw their fearful eyes. He could guess what they were thinking. However, although he maintained a calm expression, he could not help but feel anxious. Now that I've unleashed my full strength and used the quasi-royal grade spirit sword, my strength is only equivalent to the strength of 1,600 ancient horned dragons. It was pure luck that I was able to kill Lei Zhong earlier. That Lei Zhong underestimated me too much. He dared to attack me without using a spirit weapon, allowing me to take the initiative and severely injure him. Later on, even when he used his grade 1 spirit weapon, he couldn't unleash his full strength due to his injuries and died in my hands. It's also because he was injured. If he wasn't injured, his strength would be more than 20 ancient horned dragons stronger than mine. Although I'm not afraid of him, it would be extremely difficult for me to defeat him. Duan Tian's eyes gleamed brightly. He could not help but feel lucky when he recalled the scene of him fighting Lei Zhong earlier. Being able to kill Lei Zhong so cleanly was mostly due to his good luck. Otherwise, the battle between him and Lei Zhong would most likely end in a tie. This was because he did not have the confidence to defeat Lei Zhong, who was using a grade 1 spirit weapon at his peak. No matter if it's Su Qing or Zui Yu, their strength is on par with Lei Zhong. If it's just one of them, I'm not afraid at all. However, if both of them attack me at the same time, I'll definitely lose. After regaining his senses, Duan Tian secretly gasped. His eyes were filled with dread. Now he could only hope that Su Qing and Zui Yu would not join forces. Otherwise he would be in deep trouble. It's better to be safe than sorry. I must think of a way to deal with this situation. There's a high chance that both of them will join forces. Duan Tian gasped once more, and his thoughts spun as he started to think of a way. However, he still could not come up with anything even after thinking for a while. What should I do? Duan Tian muttered to himself with a frown on his face. His eyes began to scan his surroundings. He instantly discovered the other 5 long corridors. There are a total of 6 corridors on the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace, including the one I came from. In other words, other than me, Su Qing, and Zuiyu, there are 3 other people who have arrived at the 4th level? Chapter 997. Of course. If Tianwu takes the risk to cast the fire profundity, she can also crush the earth energy that contains the strength of 1,500 ancient horned dragons. After all, even the lowest level of the 1st level fire profundity would be equivalent to the strength of 2,000 ancient horned dragons once it's unleashed. Soon after, Duan Lingtian thought of Feng Qianwu. If Feng Qianwu completely ignored the backlash from the fire spirit body's energy in her body, she could take the risk to cast the 1st level fire profundity. It was equivalent to the strength of 2,000 ancient horned dragons. However, the price she had to pay was extremely high. She might explode and die because of that. The might of the fire spirit body that was hidden in her body was not a joke. Including Su Qing and Zuiyu, if the 5 young powerhouses who came to the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace have the same experience as me. Based on the number of young powerhouses from various forces who entered Qingfeng Palace, this should be the only place on the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace that leads to the 5th level. After all, the 5th level is the last level of Qingfeng Palace. If I'm not mistaken, Qingfeng Emperor Wu's body should be on the 5th level. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he thought of this. His eyes were filled with anticipation and desire. He was looking forward to finding Qingfeng Emperor Wu's body. He was eager to obtain the 3 profundity fragments in Emperor Wu's body, especially the Emperor Stage profundity fragment. He wanted to obtain it even in his dreams. Just as Duan Lingtian was thinking about this, Su Qing and Zuiyu looked at each other in unison. It was as though they had discussed this beforehand. They did not move for a long time. Both of them could be considered as old rivals. They were not strangers to each other. Now that both of them appeared on the 4th level of Qingfeng Palace together, even they were taken aback. Su Qing. Zuiyu narrowed his eyes and said slowly. His eyes were filled with battle intent. It was as though he could not wait to fight 300 rounds with Su Qing to determine the winner. In his opinion, as long as he defeated Su Qing, he would become the strongest powerhouse among the younger generation in the northern desert. There was no need for him to be on par with Su Qing. At this moment, Zuiyu had completely forgotten about Duan Lingtian. Zuiyu. As a sword cultivator, Su Qing was much calmer than Zuiyu. Faced with Zuiyu's intense battle intent, he didn't comment at all and responded casually. Zuiyu's expression changed when he saw the casual look on Su Qing's face. Just as he was about to flare up, a voice was transmitted into his ears, causing him to feel as though he was struck by lightning. He completely suppressed the rage in his heart. Zuiyu, don't you think we should wait until after we kill the Duan Lingtian? What entered Zuiyu's ears was precisely Su Qing's voice transmission. Right now, neither of us can be sure if he was holding back the strength he displayed back then. But regardless of whether he was holding back or not, we shouldn't leave him until the end. Once we make the first move, the final outcome will definitely be a lose-lose situation. Could it be that you want to wait for him to take advantage of the situation? I suggest that we join forces and kill him first. When Su Qing reached the end of his voice transmission, a hint of seriousness could be heard in his voice. I have a feeling that this Duan Lingtian isn't as simple as he seems. I feel extremely uneasy knowing that he's still alive. After Su Qing's reminder, Zuiyu could not help but jolt back to his senses. He finally remembered the existence of the Duan Lingtian. Earlier he had almost forgotten about the Duan Lingtian. We can join forces. However, the profundity fragment in his body belongs to me. Zuiyu looked at Su Qing and raised the price. However, Su Qing could not help but sneer when he heard his words. Zuiyu, have you forgotten the most important thing? Today you and I will fight here and we will definitely decide the victor. In the end, one of us will definitely be killed by the other party. Only then will the person who survives obtain the golden key and another reward left behind by the Qingfeng Emperor Wu on the 4th level. Only then will he be able to ascend to the 5th level and obtain the 3 profundity fragments in the body of the Qingfeng Emperor Wu. Since one of us will die in the end, don't you think your request is a little superfluous? Su Qing finished his sentence in one breath. Zuiyu could not help but be stunned by Su Qing's words. After a while, he regained his senses and completely agreed with Su Qing's words. If that's the case, let's join forces and kill the Duan Lingtian first. Zuiyu took a deep breath as he stared coldly at the purple-clad young man standing not far away. When he saw the Duan Lingtian looking left and right as though he was looking for something, he could not help but sneer. A mocking smile appeared on his face as he said fearlessly, Duanling Tian, take a few more glances. From today onwards, you're destined not to see anything in this world. When Zuiyu's words entered Duanling Tian's ears, it caused Duanling Tian's face to turn grave immediately. Zuiyu? When Duanling Tian looked at Zuiyu, he could clearly sense Su Qing's cold gaze. It was a gaze as cold as a sword that was about to devour a person. Are they really joining forces? His heart could not help but skip a beat. Although he was mentally prepared, he could not help but feel his heart clench when the moment came. His face turned grave and a hint of dread flashed in his eyes. Ah! Duanling Tian, I don't care if you held back when you killed Lei Zhong earlier. Today Su Qing and I will join forces. You'll definitely die. When Zuiyu saw the dread in Duanling Tian's eyes, he could not help but laugh maniacally. His laughter was wanton and unrestrained. In his opinion, Duanling Tian must have a certain understanding of his and Su Qing's strength. However, when Duanling Tian heard that Zuiyu wanted to join forces with Su Qing, a hint of dread could be seen in his eyes. It was obvious he was not confident he could deal with Zuiyu and Su Qing. Zuiyu, I realize, you really have a lot of nonsense to say, Su Qing said coldly. His gaze was as cold as his voice when it landed on Duanling Tian. You better not be careless before you kill this Duanling Tian. Be careful of capsizing in the gutter. Su Qing. When Duanling Tian heard that Su Qing wanted to kill him, his expression turned ugly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Su Qing was in cahoots with Zuiyu. Although he was unwilling to admit it, he had no choice but to do so. At this moment, Su Qing and Zuiyu joining forces was undoubtedly the best way to deal with him. He knew he would make the same choice if he was in Su Qing's position. He would kill Zuiyu first, then fight it out with Zuiyu. The person who survived would be the biggest winner. Not only would he be able to obtain the golden key and another reward, but he would also be able to enter the 5th level of Qingfeng Palace and obtain the 3 profundity fragments in Emperor Wu's body. Su Qing do it? At this moment, Zuiyu, who had been reminded by Su Qing, suddenly shouted and charged at Duanling Tian together with Su Qing. Zuiyu moved like the wind. When he was still halfway there, he took out the Grade 1 spirit weapon he had obtained in the outer ring of Emperor Wu's secret treasure. It was an ancient-looking full moon saber. Whoosh! As soon as Zuiyu made his move, he exerted all his strength without holding back. Waves of solidified green wind swept out from his body, emitting a vast and sharp aura. It merged with the full moon saber in his hand. Suddenly, the saber ray on the full moon saber skyrocketed and charged at Duanling Tian mercilessly. It was so fierce as though it was going to cut Duanling Tian in half. In the sky, the heaven and earth energy stirred and finally gathered to form the heaven and earth phenomenon. More than 1,620 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons flew out together with Zuiyu. When the full moon saber in Zuiyu's hand charged at Duanling Tian in an attempt to kill Duanling Tian, the speed of the ancient horned dragons accelerated. The speed of the over 1,620 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons suddenly increased. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they pounced towards Duanling Tian. It was as though they wanted to tear him into pieces. 4th level void transformation. 4th level advanced wind concept. Grade 1 spirit saber. This was the strength of Zuiyu, the strongest person among the younger generation in Anika sect. As the strongest person among the younger generation in Anika sect, Zuiyu's strength was not as simple as it seemed. In addition to his strength, he had also cultivated a set of heaven-grade saber martial skill to an extraordinary level. Aurora Mirage Saber. When the full moon saber in Zuiyu's hand charged at Duanling Tian and approached Duanling Tian, the skyrocketing saber ray converged around the full moon saber and returned to its original state. Its speed suddenly increased. Whoosh! A saber shadow flashed in the air as an extreme saber ray flashed out and went straight for Duanling Tian's vital point without mercy. At this moment, the speed of the full moon saber in Zuiyu's hand was more than 50 times faster than before. It only left a saber shadow in Duanling Tian and Su Qing's eyes. The power of the Aurora Mirage saber was clearly displayed. As soon as Zuiyu's body moved and charged at him, Duanling Tian had already taken out the quasi-royal grade spiritual sword from his spatial ring. Origin energy rose and merged with the 4 concepts that followed him like a shadow before surging into the sword. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly the sword ray skyrocketed and emitted a series of sword chimes. In just a blink of an eye, Zuiyu's saber only left a saber shadow before it disappeared before his eyes. *T. Duanling Tian's face changed drastically. He immediately closed his eyes and released his spiritual energy to surround his body. He intended to use his spiritual energy to capture the trajectory of the saber in Zuiyu's hand. When his spiritual energy captured the trajectory of the full moon saber, the quasi-royal grade spiritual sword in his hand shook and disappeared into the air. Sword drawing technique. Whoosh. Accompanied by a short-lived sword chime, an extreme sword ray shot out. Clang. An ear-piercing sound of metal colliding resonated. It was Duan Lingtian's quasi-royal grade spiritual sword that blocked Zuiyu's menacing full moon saber in time. Whoosh. Chapter 998. Boom. The full moon saber in Zuiyu's hand was surrounded by a saber ray that was completely formed by green wind. It was so overwhelming that the energy contained in Duan Lingtian's sword trembled. Boom. 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 The strength of over 1,620 ancient horned dragons in the saber ray swept out again and again. It was like the waves behind overtaking the waves before it, suppressing the strength of 1,600 ancient horned dragons in Duan Lingtian's sword. As the sound of air exploding reverberated in the air, airwaves and gales swept out in all directions and raged. Whoosh. Duan Lingtian and his sword were pushed back a few steps by Zuiyu's saber. The vital energy and blood in his body were in turmoil, and his face was pale. If it was any other time, Duan Lingtian might be able to slightly block Zuiyu's saber that was only over 20 ancient horned dragons stronger than him. However, Zuiyu had made the first move and gained the upper hand. It was difficult for him to block it. With the strength of over 20 ancient horned dragons stronger than him, Zuiyu who made the first move easily suppressed him. Unfortunately, the earth formation on the bumpy paths on the 5th level of Qingfeng Palace has interfered with me. I can't use the earth concept to borrow the earth energy. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in such a sorry state. The earth formation was the inscription formation that extended the earth energy on the bumpy paths to stop Duan Lingtian from advancing. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and felt his organs trembling. He stared at Zuiyu with a grave expression on his face. He did not continue to chase after Zuiyu. Ah, Duan Lingtian, it seems like my previous guess was right. The strength of 1,600 ancient horned dragons is your limit. When Duan Lingtian was looking at Zuiyu, Zuiyu was also looking at Duan Lingtian. He laughed out loud, his eyes were filled with contempt. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. At the same time, an ear-piercing sword whistling sound rang out, and specks of sword light approached from afar, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as they fell upon Duan Lingtian, as if it was raining swords. Along with the rain of swords that filled the sky, there was also a figure that looked like green lightning. The heaven and earth phenomenon above the green figure's head was exactly the same as the heaven and earth phenomenon above Zuiyu's head. There were more than 1,620 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons. 4th level void transformation stage. 4th level sword concept. A first-grade spirit sword. Su Qing. Duan Lingtian fixed his gaze on the green figure behind the rain of swords when he saw the rain of swords falling toward him. He shook his quasi-royal grade spirit sword and stabbed it forward. 9 dragons radiant flash. As Duan Lingtian drew his sword, 3 divine dragons that were formed from the fusion of origin energy and 4 types of concepts whizzed out at an extremely fast speed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Almost at the same time when the 3 divine dragons charged out, 6 extremely cold rays shot out from their 3 pairs of eyes. Their target was Su Qing, the green figure in the distance. What a powerful sword skill. The 6 extremely cold rays were so fast that Su Qing, who thought he could easily kill Duan Lingtian, narrowed his eyes. Subsequently, his eyes turned cold, and he withdrew the grade 1 spirit sword in his hand at lightning speed. Instantly, the rain of swords that covered the sky that descended towards Duan Lingtian vanished completely along with Su Qing withdrawing his hand. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. When Su Qing withdrew his sword, he shook it abruptly, and sword flowers formed in front of him, forming a layer of dense sword net. Almost at the same time when the sword net was formed. Clang, clang, clang. The 6 extremely cold rays landed on the sword net one by one, creating a crisp sound and setting off waves of airwaves that swept in all directions. However, they did not penetrate the sword net. They were all blocked. What a fast sword. Duan Lingtian's face darkened. He did not expect Su Qing's sword to be so fast. Under such circumstances, he was still able to form a layer of dense sword net in front of him in time. Duan Lingtian could see that the sword net that Su Qing formed was a defensive martial skill. It was a heaven-ranked defensive martial skill. Zuiyu, this Duan Lingtian is very dangerous. Let's join forces and kill him as soon as possible. Su Qing did not feel good when he blocked the 6 extremely cold rays. He only felt his internal organs trembling, and his qi and blood were surging. His eyes flashed coldly as he suddenly shouted. Ah! Su Qing, it seems like you've suffered quite a bit as well. Zuiyu seemed to have noticed something and laughed. However, the smile on his face quickly disappeared. Duan Lingtian. Today, even the heavens won't be able to save you. Zuiyu stared coldly at Duan Lingtian as though he was looking at a dead man. As soon as his words left his mouth, Zuiyu's body swept out like the wind toward Duan Lingtian. The full moon saber in his hand left a saber shadow in the air before it disappeared again. Shadow Aurora Saber. This time, Zuiyu used the same trick again. He cast the strongest saber martial skill that he had mastered in an attempt to kill Duan Lingtian. Whoosh! Zuiyu's saber swept out toward Duan Lingtian like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. He wanted to reap Duan Lingtian's life. Whoosh! At the same time, Su Qing made his move as well. He charged out side by side with Zuiyu. The sword in his hand once again created a rain of swords that covered the sky and covered the earth as it charged toward Duan Lingtian. Between the two of them, one wanted to slash Duan Lingtian in half while the other wanted to pierce through Duan Lingtian's heart with 10,000 swords. In the sky, more than 3,200 silhouettes of ancient horned dragons charged toward Duan Lingtian. If such a heaven and earth phenomenon belonged to only one person, Duan Lingtian would definitely die. However, even if the heaven and earth phenomenon belonged to 2 people, it was still a pressure to Duan Lingtian who was injured. It was so oppressive that he could barely breathe. Split and combine formation. Faced with the merciless attacks from the 2 people, Duan Lingtian's eyes were cold. Origin energy merged into the quasi-royal grade spirit sword in his hand and activated the inscription formation in it. The inscription formation in the quasi-royal grade spirit sword was the split and combine inscription formation. Duan Lingtian called it the split and combine formation. Once it was activated, it would split into 9 and combine into 1. At that moment, the quasi-royal grade spirit sword in Duan Lingtian's hand split into 9. Subsequently, his spiritual energy extended out and shrouded the 9 quasi-royal grade spirit swords, causing them to hover in the air and revolve around his body. Ha! Su Qing and Zuiyu were shocked when they saw the swords in Duan Lingtian's hands split into 9 and revolved around him. Although they were shocked, their attacks did not slow down at all. They continued to attack Duan Lingtian mercilessly. 9 Tribulation Sword Control Technique. Faced with Su Qing and Zuiyu's attacks, Duan Lingtian's heart jolted. He was ready to perform the green sword skill he obtained from the martial monarch's treasure to control the 9 quasi-royal grade spirit swords to fight. As he exerted all his spiritual energy, 4 of the quasi-royal grade spirit swords flew out under his control. They emitted a sharp sword ray as they flew towards Su Qing and Zuiyu. Whoosh! 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 Each of the 4 quasi-royal grade spirit swords that flew towards Su Qing and Zuiyu contained a similar amount of energy. It was equivalent to 4 Duan Lingtian attacking at the same time. Unfortunately, due to the fact that Duan Lingtian was injured, the energy contained in each of the quasi-royal grade spirit swords was only equivalent to 1,400 ancient horned dragons. It was far from his prime. Clang, 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 clang. As the vast energy collided with each other, the sound of air exploding reverberated in the air. At the same time, 4 ear-piercing sounds of metal colliding resonated in the air and entered Duan Lingtian's ears clearly like thunder. A wry smile crept up on the corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth when he saw Su Qing and Zuiyu knocking away the 4 quasi-royal grade spirit swords that flew out one after another. If only I had performed the 9 Tribulation Sword Control technique earlier. Duan Lingtian did not expect this at all. With his current spiritual energy, he could actually control 4 swords at the same time when he performed the 9 Tribulation Sword Control technique. Once he attacked, the power was extraordinary. It was equivalent to 4 of him attacking at the same time. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. A small mistake caused Duan Lingtian to be completely in a predicament. He was exposed to Su Qing and Zuiyu's attacks. Separate and combined formation. In a hurry, Duan Lingtian only managed to grab one of the quasi-royal grade spirit swords that was hovering in the air beside him and merged the other 8 quasi-royal grade spirit swords back into one. Sword drawing technique. The quasi-royal grade spirit sword that had merged back into one swiftly attacked. It was as though it had transformed into a sword ray that was like a storm as it welcomed Su Qing and Zuiyu's attacks. Su Qing and Zuiyu were shocked when they saw Duan Lingtian's sword had transformed into 9 swords. In the beginning they thought the other 9 swords that had appeared were fake. It was only when 4 of the swords soared through the air and charged at them. Each of the swords contained the strength of over 1,400 ancient horned dragons that they realized each of the swords was real. At this moment they could not help but be shocked again. At this moment, before they could calm down, they saw Duan Tian had merged the 9 swords back into one. It caused their emotions to be in turmoil again. This also caused their attacks to subconsciously weaken a little. Although it was weakened, it was still not something that Duan Tian who was injured could withstand. Whoosh, whoosh. When the saber and sword swept over and collided with the quasi-royal grade spirit sword in Duan Tian's hand, an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing resonated in the air. At the same time, Duan Tian was blasted away again along with his sword. Duan Tian, who was blasted away like an arrow that was shot out of the bow, tried his best to mobilize his origin energy to decelerate. However, the effect was not obvious. In the end, Duan Tian's body slammed hard against the wall. His internal organs were shaken and his vital energy and blood were in turmoil. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Smack. Congested blood splattered on the ground, splashing out blood flowers like dazzling red roses. At this moment, Duan Tian finally had the opportunity to take out a life recovery pill that he had refined and consumed it. Just as Duan Tian was rapidly digesting the medicinal efficacy to heal his injuries while looking at Su Qing and Zuiyu who were charging at him with dread, he noticed the floor beneath him was trembling. Inscription formation. Duan Tian's sharp spiritual energy soon discovered that he had unintentionally activated another inscription formation. No. To be exact, there were 2. Chapter 999. When Duan Tian's attention was attracted by the sound of the explosion, he saw a piece of the floor being blasted away by a hidden force. Whoosh. Subsequently, a stone platform rose rapidly. There was an exquisite little box on top of the stone platform. The little box was exactly the same as the one Duan Tian saw on the 3rd floor of Qingfeng Palace. However, the little box on the 3rd floor of Qingfeng Palace contained the silver key. Could the thing in this little box be the golden key? Duan Tian's heart skipped a beat and could not help but guess. When Duan Tian's attention was attracted by the little box, Su Qing and Zuiyu, who were charging at Duan Tian fiercely, were also attracted by the little box. They stopped in their tracks when they were charging at Duan Tian. When they looked at the little box, their eyes were filled with burning desire. Whoosh. Soon after, Zuiyu moved and charged toward the stone platform where the little box was. He had completely forgotten about Duan Tian. Zuiyu. Su Qing's expression changed and he could not help but shout in anger. He did not expect Zuiyu to be so shameless. He had said that he would kill Duan Tian first before fighting him to the death. In the end, he was the one who snatched the little box that seemed to contain the golden key. Whoosh. Instantly, Su Qing flashed out as well, and he seemed to have transformed into a sharp sword that swiftly flashed out as he moved like a bolt of lightning to obstruct Zuiyu who wanted to take the small box. Humph. Zuiyu's face darkened and he snorted coldly when he saw Su Qing trying to snatch the little box that seemed to contain the golden key. Subsequently, he made his move without any hesitation and fought with Su Qing. Both of them were old rivals and their strength was on par with each other. They were on par with each other. However, they still fought with all their might for the little box. As for Duan Tian, they seemed to have forgotten about him. Perhaps, in their opinion, Duan Tian was no longer a threat. As long as any of them survived, they could easily kill him. On the other side, when Duan Tian saw that Zuiyu was attracted by the small box that seemed to contain the golden key and flew towards it, he knew that his life was not in danger for the time being. For the time being, he did not show much interest in the small box that seemed to contain the golden key. Of course, this didn't mean that he wasn't interested in it. Now, even if he was really interested in it, he had no way of snatching it away from him. Soon, Duan Tian shifted his gaze to the ground below him. At this moment, he was lifted into the air by the slowly rising floor. Duan Tian's figure flashed and descended onto the floor. With just a glance, he saw a green vine appear under the floor, and the floor beneath him was propped up by the green vine. Although there was only one green vine in front of him, it was extremely thick as an adult's thigh. That is, however, what really attracted Duan Tian was not the green vine, but the purple-red fruit that was hanging on the green vine. The fruit was shining with a faint purple light. Bauhinia fruit? Duan Ling Tian searched through Reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory and quickly recognized the fruit before him as a spirit fruit. Moreover, it was a spirit fruit that was used by void transformation martial artists. The Bauhinia fruit was a spirit fruit that was used by void transformation martial artists. Among the spirit fruits in Reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory, the Bauhinia fruit could be considered as one of the best spirit fruits used by void transformation martial artists. It was said that even a martial artist who had just broken through to the 9th level void transformation would be able to break through to the martial monarch stage and become a martial monarch powerhouse after consuming the Bauhinia fruit after comprehending the monarch stage profundity. Based on this, one could see how powerful the Bauhinia fruit was. I'm quite injured now. Even if I unleash my full strength, I can only exert the strength of about 1,000 ancient horned dragons at most. Su Qing and Zui, you can easily kill me. But if I were to consume this red bud fruit, Meng Chuan thought to himself. The moment Duan Ling Tian thought of this, he looked into the distance vigilantly. When he noticed that Su Qing and Zuoyu were fighting over the little box that seemed to contain the golden key, he could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Whoosh. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian reached out at lightning speed and plucked the ripe purplish-red fruit, the Bauhinia fruit, and hurriedly stuffed it into his mouth. After swallowing the Bauhinia fruit in 2 to 3 bites, Duan Ling Tian felt a warm current entering his body and emitting waves of powerful medicinal efficacy. What a powerful medicinal efficacy! This medicinal efficacy is far more powerful than the spirit fruit that I took from Zishang earlier. With this medicinal efficacy and the overbearing medicinal efficacy of the rebirth pill, my cultivation base might be able to break through to the 5th level void transformation in one go. Although Duan Ling Tian had learned from Reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory that the Bauhinia fruit was very powerful, he still did not believe it. However, when he consumed it, he truly felt how amazing the red bud fruit was. No, it's not just the 5th level void transformation. It's not impossible for me to break through to the 6th level void transformation. When Duan Ling Tian sensed the rebirth pill's medicinal efficacy in the depths of his dantian, leaving his dantian and merging with his origin energy to merge with the Bauhinia fruit's medicinal efficacy, he could not help but think to himself. It was his first time seeing the rebirth pill's medicinal efficacy so active. He felt as though he had been injected with chicken blood as it guided his origin energy to flow through his meridians at lightning speed. 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, Roving Dragon Form. Without any hesitation, Duan Ling Tian hastily sat on the ground and closed his eyes to cultivate. At the same time, he did not forget to take out the 9th level wind concept fragment and hold it in his hand. One must know that when he cultivated the roving dragon form's mental cultivation method, the speed at which he comprehended the wind concept would increase as well. In his body, the overbearing medicinal efficacy of the rebirth pill and Bauhinia fruit guided his origin energy to circulate one cycle after another according to the roving dragon form's mental cultivation method. The originally loose bottleneck leading to the 4th level void transformation became even looser after being hit a few times. It was as though he was only a few more hits away from breaking through. Boom, boom, boom. After a few more hits, Duan Ling Tian felt a soft pop sound coming from his body. The bottleneck leading to the 4th level void transformation was broken. His origin energy swept out and underwent an earth-shattering change. 4th level void transformation. The origin energy that had transformed did not stop because of this. Under the influence of the overbearing medicinal efficacy of the rebirth pill and Bauhinia pill, its speed did not slow down at all. It continued to circulate one cycle after another according to the roving dragon form's mental cultivation method. Duan Lingtian's cultivation base rose at an extremely terrifying speed. However, Duan Lingtian's thoughts were not on the elevation of his cultivation base. He could clearly feel that his wind concept had changed, but it was not a change that occurred after a breakthrough. Wind concept doesn't seem to have a breakthrough. It's just that I feel like there's another energy in it. A power that's ready to burst out at any time. What's that? Out of curiosity, Duan Ling Tian tried to communicate with the energy that was born in the wind concept. Soon after, he felt a scorching aura being transmitted to him. Subsequently, a violent and scorching energy soared and enveloped his entire body. However, this fiery red energy did not cause any harm to him. Fire. Fire concept. Duan Ling Tian opened his eyes and stared blankly at the energy that was born from the wind concept that surrounded his body. To be more precise, it was the concept, the fire concept. Wait, the level of this fire concept seems to be the same as the wind concept? After probing for a while, Duan Lingtian discovered a shocking fact. The fire concept that was born from the third-level advanced wind concept that he comprehended was actually the same as the wind concept. It was also at the third-level void transformation concept. In other words, the fire concept that he had just comprehended was directly at the third-level advanced fire concept. Isn't the roving dragon form, the 8th form of the 9 dragons war sovereign technique, too abnormal? Not only did it allow me to nurture the fire concept with the wind concept, but it's even nurtured such a high-level fire concept. Moreover, there seems to be some kind of connection between the fire concept and the wind concept. It's as if the fire concept would have a breakthrough after the wind concept has a breakthrough. When he thought up to here, Duan Lingtian was shocked. If it's really like this, I don't have to comprehend another fire concept at all. As long as the wind concept improves, the fire concept will improve as well. Perhaps, by the time I comprehend the wind profundity, the fire concept will also evolve into the fire profundity. When he thought of this, Duan Lingtian's heartbeat quickened again. It was as though it was going to jump out of his chest. What's that? The commotion at Duan Lingtian's side finally attracted Su Qing and Zui Yu's attention. Both of them clashed once again and retreated quickly. They were not in a hurry to attack each other again. Both of them had a tacit understanding as they looked at the other side. Over there, a thick green vine that propped up the floor appeared clearly in front of their eyes. With their eyesight, they could clearly see a new gap on the green vine with just a glance. It was as though someone had plucked something from it. Spirit fruit. Both of them looked at each other and saw the realization in each other's eyes. Both of their expressions changed at the same time. The spirit fruit was plucked by Duan Lingtian? Don't tell me the spirit fruit is the other reward that Emperor Wu Qingfeng left on the 5th level? Both of them were shocked. They clearly remembered the message that Emperor Wu Qingfeng left behind. The message stated that there was another reward other than the golden key on the 5th level of Qingfeng Palace. As for what the other reward was, Emperor Wu Qingfeng did not say clearly in his message. Due to this reason, they did not pay much attention to the reward from the beginning. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.